It's Enduro Day for the International GTOpen in 2023. It's round 2 of the season and it comes from the legendary Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. We have 2 hours and 20 minutes plus 1 lap of racing on this iconic 7-kilometer racetrack. On this grid, we will have a combined 51 cars between the International GTOpen cars that we normally see of GT3 specification, as well as the GT Cup Europe, and that is a mixture of Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars and Ferrari 488 Challenges, and that will surely mix things up in what is a very important race for the championship, because double points are on offer this weekend. The grid has been set by the average 2 fastest lap times for each of the drivers from 2 qualifying sessions. That has put the Simon Riker and Christopher Haase East Talent Audi on pole position. But talking to them earlier, it was jubilation for sure, but not entirely sure about their race pace. And there is the pole sitting car. How will they fare across the next 2 hours and 20 minutes of racing? My name is Chris Stevens, and George Morgan not with us this weekend because he has selfishly decided to get himself married, which we congratulate him massively on the new Mr. and Mrs. Morgan. But I'm delighted to say that in his stead, alongside me, is the legendary 2-time Wilson Mill Kart Club champion, but you probably know him as one of the best voices in single-seater racing, Chris McCarthy.
Oh, you are too kind, Chris. You're too kind. Thank you very much. It is really, really great to be back, and so many great memories with International GTOpen back in 2020, which really helped me get through what was a tough year for all of us around the world. But great to be alongside you, Chris. Chris and Chris. It's not going to be confusing for the viewers, the guys in the truck, or either of us. I guess we can't call each other the wrong name, right? We don't have that embarrassment, so that's good. And yes, as you said, congratulations to George. I'm sure he is watching along, and maybe with a bit of a sore head after these celebrations yesterday, but congratulations to him. But yeah, this is going to be fantastic, isn't it? Let's talk about racing and not weddings now. 51 cars out there. I tell you what, we got here for practice yesterday, and it just sounded absolutely fantastic, didn't we? We were in the pit lane watching the cars blast past us down to La Source, and seeing 51 of those all at once. The fans who have come and are gathering quickly around the grandstands are in for a real treat here.
They certainly are. Now, we have quite a few classes to keep on top of over the course of this race. Of course, the GT3 cars split into Pro, Pro-Am and Am, and then we have 2 classes among the Cup category, again Pro-Am and Am. Grand total of 51 cars, made up of 34 GT3 specification machines. That's 13 Ferraris, 12 of them being the 488, 1 of them being the new 296, 8 Mercedes AMG, 5 Lamborghinis, 3 McLaren 720S Evos, 2 Porsche 911s, 1 the new 992 from Uber Motorsport as well, 1 Audi R8 LMS on pole position, and 1 Aston Martin Vantage as well. And then in addition to that, 17 on the GT Cup grid, 4 of them being the Ferrari 488 Challenge, 13 of them being the 911 GT3 Cup car. And as I mentioned earlier, a combination of the old 991 and the newer 992. And Chris, this is unlike anything we're going to see across the remainder of the season, because it's an awful lot longer than we would normally be racing for. Normally we have 60 and 70-minute races. This is 2 hours and 20 minutes non-stop action.
Yeah, and the guys up there on the balcony, on the terrace, have got a really beautiful view as the cars will go up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon for the first time, and then down into the bus stop chicane, where I'm sure we're going to be seeing some moves being made.
Let's take a look at the highlights from the opening round from Portimao. It was David Fuminelli on pole position, a familiar sight in the Algarve. He led in the early stages, and we saw great battles with the Optimum Motorsport McLaren making the moves early on. Charlie Fagg was definitely a man on a mission, but it was Alfaisal Al-Zubair and Fabian Schiller in the Almanar Racing Mercedes that got off to a flying start, but they're only with us for 3 rounds this year. That same car led in the early stages of race number 2 as well, as Charlie Fagg went hopping and skipping over the curbs, but it was Diego Mancheca and Marcos Seber who came out on top in the pit stop phase and took Team Motorpark's first GT3 race victory shortly after setting up their brand new GT base at Oschersleben. And this is how the championship looks going into round 2. We can consider Mancheca and Seber the de facto championship leaders. As we mentioned, the Motorpark car not with us for the full season. And then in GT Cup, it was the 44 of the SP Racing Porsche going absolutely side by side and making a little bit of contact there with one of its fellow Porsches, and a few loops as well further down the order. But this was the moment that decided race number 1. Evgeny Leonov was on course for victory, spun at the final corner, and that allowed the number 80 of Mertel Motorsport to go through and take the win. This time in race number 2, it was the turn of the other Porsches to take the front. It was the 78 that is not with us this weekend that managed to lead in the early stages. Stephen Earl ended up out of the race after a bit of contact here, and he retired with a puncture in the end, unfortunately for him. And again, it was Mertel Motorsport who was on top after making that move into turn 1. Back-to-back victories for Ferrari in their first weekend in the GT Cup Europe. And again, this is what it's done to the standings, because it's Ivan Velasco and Jorge Cabezas that lead by 12 points to Evgeny Leonov, Eugenio Pisani in 3rd place there in the standings. And isn't that just a sight? Well, we've been saying it all weekend, Chris. This has got to be one of the best looking racetracks in the world, right in the midst of the Ardennes Forest. We were sat out watching some of the Clio Cup action yesterday as well, just green for miles and a ribbon of tarmac in amongst it.
Yeah, and the man with the clearest view is going to be this one here, Simon Riker. He is going to have that view all to himself, but will it be for long? Because Samuel Dehaan in the 69 Optimum Motorsport car will start alongside, and that's a team who have had success here in the past as well. In the Pro-Am class, they're looking to go for victory in the Pro class, Chris. And this was also a car across the 2 sessions that did go very well. Team Motorpark, you'll recognise the name from Euro Formula Open.
And many other single-seater series as well, an absolutely legendary team. Team Oregon seems like they're back on form after a very difficult opening weekend in Portimao. Maximilian Paul lines up 4th on the grid in the number 63 car. They, of course, are the reigning teams and drivers champions from last season. Mikhail Pitamba and Reese Barr lining up on the 2nd row of the grid. It's Pitamba starting the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Niccolo Marinangeli in 6th place there for AF Corsa.
Yeah, well,
51.
I was going to say that's one of the cars that did struggle until the end of the session, but Nicola Marinangeli, as he had done in his single-seater experience with Euro Formula Open, managed to pull it through. But then we come to the first of the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, Florian Schultz, 2nd there, and then another pro car here. This is the Lion Speed Porsche being started by Patrick Kolb. And they will be hoping that this endurance race goes a little bit better than the Nürburgring 24 hours a week ago, which ended for them after 45 minutes. The Uber Motorsport, the 992 Porsche, making its debut in the GT Open. Safe to say it's been a rather difficult first year of competition for that car, but Uber lining up 9th on the grid for them, ahead of Pietro Perolini and Steve Jans.
Yeah, I've got to say, Lion Speed settling in very nicely into the championship. Richard Leeds, of course, a 2007 champion with them. Here we can see P11 next, Steve Jans, as we said, in the 911. And then we come to the next Lamborghini for the Oregon team, the team defending the drivers and team's title in the number 19, Pietro Perellini comes next. Beautiful view all the way down the grid. It goes on, and next comes the number 32 of Sandro Muir, one of the other Pro-Am cars. 5th in class. Let's see if Sandro can move forward. Marcin Jedlinski is next in the 777, teammate with Karol Baz, and those guys, Karol Baz knows how to win round this circuit in that class, so they could be one to watch as well. And then after that, Chris, then comes the first of the Pro-Ams. Some brilliant performances in the AM class. Alessandro Cozzi will be first, and a very, very impressive 15th place overall. So given they had the average lap times taken, that was a really good performance from them. So the 2 first AM cars come on row number 8. But there we go, potentially GTOpen drivers of the future watching on to some of the drivers I'm sure they've been following throughout the season. Would have been tuning in at Portimao, but now they get to see it trackside. Simon Riker on pole, and here's your grid in full.
Simon Riker lines up on pole position for the East Allen Audi team. Sam Dehan alongside him in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren. On the second row of the grid, the de facto championship leaguer Diego Mancheca in the Team Motorpark Mercedes, ahead of the Oregon Lamborghini of Maximilian Paul. SPS Automotive Performance represented by Michael Pitamba in 5th, ahead of Nicolo Marinangeli in the AF Corsa Ferrari, number 51. Pro-Am pole position went to Team GT and Florian Schultz in their Mercedes, that's 7th overall, ahead of Patrick Kolb, the Pro Porsche, in 8th. Antares Au takes the helm of the Huber Motorsport 992 Porsche in 9th, ahead of the 27 car of Marco Pulcini. Then comes Steve Jans and Pietro Perellini in the 2nd Oregon car. Sandro Muir in the Benaldi Lamborghini, and then Marcin Jedlinski in the Olymp Mercedes. Alessandro Cozzi on AM pole position ahead of Heiko Neumann. That is the championship leading car in that category. They line up 15th and 16th. Then comes Nicola Rossi and Fran Rueda. That is the altitude racing by Greystone GT. McLaren Ernst Kirkmeyer in 19th overall, ahead of Dexter Muller in the CBRX. Mercedes, Jean-Claude Sada and Giuseppe Cipriani in 21st and 22nd. Then comes Frederic Jousset and Laurent Demeus. 25th, Omar Jackson in the Ferrari 296. Adam Osaka running in the in the Get Speed, Jakob Schell, and then Murat Radoroglu returning to the GTOpen in 28th place, ahead of Adrian Ludenkowski and Gino Forgione in 29th and 30th overall. Then comes Stuart Proctor, and the first of the Cup cars, which is Jorge Cabezas for Motor Motorsport. Evgeny Leonov and Axel Sartingen start behind him. Shintaro Akatsu and Laurent van der Velde, that's the Cup AM pole position there. Remy van Straten and Alexandre Bechez line up behind them. Then comes Fernando Navarrete and Christian Korzeniowski, a GT3 car that's well out of position. Alex Ryman and Stefano Zanini come next. Nico van Dierendonck and Camille Perrian, a pair of Porsches there. And Roberto Ficicchio and Glauco Solieri behind them. Fabio Famiani, Gianluca Di Lorenzi, another pair of Porsches there. Then comes the Street Art Aston Martin of Zolio Lelaka, Roberto Bosio, and rounding out the 51 car grid is Zampon Giovanni in the 2nd Benaldi Lamborghini. And breathe.
Yes, we both were going to say it. Just the 51 cars to go through. I tell you what, one to watch out for in the early stages here, I think, could be Fran Wareda, starting down in P18, just the 8 GTOpen wins to his name. He won back here in 2019 in the Pro class as well. So keep an eye on that number 84 in the early stages. That could be a very fast mover. But look at them coming through Pouhon. They may not be at speed yet, but next time they come round, they will. There's going to be lots of overtaking. Let's hope we all get through nice and cleanly. Is Simon Riker going to be able to hold on to the lead? Are we going to see the likes of Diego Mancheca and Maximilian Paul? Those guys struggled in qualifying right until the very end. We saw a lot of track limits, but Maximilian Paul eventually ending to put a time in. But 3 pit stops to serve, Chris, 3 mandatory pit stops. You cannot double stint, so the 2 drivers in each team will have to swap each time, and there are pit stop windows as well. The first one will open up 28 minutes into the race and will run until 42 minutes. So 28 minutes of flat-out racing, and then the pit lane will open.
And of course, one thing we haven't considered yet is that for the first time in a while, these GT3 cars have got to contend with GT Cup traffic.
Yes.
And particularly among the AM runners, there might be some concerns there about how they get through the traffic, but that's all part of endurance racing. The handicaps to be taken as well in the 3rd and final stop. Don't forget about that. We are forming the grid now as they head up towards Blanchimont behind the safety car. 2 hours and 20 minutes await 51 cars and 102 drivers for the 2nd round of the International GT Open and GT Cup Europe in 2023.
I don't think the guys at the back are going to be able to see the start-finish line when we go around. Look at that, that looks absolutely fantastic. The guys on the terrace in the perfect position to see these guys burst into life here at Spa, Chris.
Is there a better view in any of racing around the world, let alone GT racing? An absolutely jam-packed grid, 51 cars in total, 34 GT3s, 17 GT Cup cars are about to do battle on the most legendary racetrack in the world. There is the East Talent Racing team watching nervously as their car is on pole position. Simon Riker will be on the left-hand side as we look at it. And for round 2 in the International GT Open in 2023, we are about to unleash 28,000 horsepower on Spa-Francorchamps. It's lights out at Spa, and Diego Mancheca getting a very good start indeed. He looks like he's already challenging for 2nd place. Simon Riker is tight towards the inside line. Mancheca in the Mercedes gets 2nd place straight away from Sand. And we got a collision already in the middle of the field. That is one of the Oregon Lamborghinis, and Giuseppe Cipriani having to go through the gravel. The Oregon car now going side by side with the SBS Mercedes, and the Mercedes comes out on top through Eau Rouge for the first time. But Diego Mancheca is the one making the moves. He's passed Sam DeHaan into 2nd place.
Yeah, they're coming up ready on now. Let's hope we get everyone through nice and safely. A couple of tangles at La Source. We had one car having to pull up just because of the block ahead, but as we jump on board there, here we go. Simon Riker leading us into Les Combes for the first time. A couple of cars trying to make some moves, but they will now filter their way through. Let's jump on board with the number 51, shall we? Nicola Marinangeli in this car, and almost running a little bit wide, wrestling with that Ferrari as he makes his way down the hill. I think in 2nd there, that might have been Sam DeHaan running slightly wide into Bruxelles. But we're all through safely. We're about to do battle now for the remainder of this race. Fantastic sight as we go side by side once again there. The number 32 trying to make a place.
And Marco Pulcini has taken the Pro-Am lead, meanwhile, in all of that. 8th place overall from Florian Scholz. And Antar Azal 3rd in that 992 Porsche in that category. That's 10th overall through the Fania chicane for the first time. So it's Marinangeli who holds 5th place behind that battle we were watching as he went side by side with, I believe it was Maximilian Paul. And he must have fallen back, which means that it was the 19 Oregon of Pietro Parolini that was caught up in that incident at La Source. This is on board with Parolini here. He's behind the blue AF Corsa Ferrari.
Yeah. Got a good toe here. The Oregon car had that little tangle, but now he needs to get back on the move and do it quickly. Was he going to make a move into Blanchimont there? I wouldn't put it past him as we make our way down to the bus stop chicane for the first time. Side by side they go all the way through. Fantastic view now as they make their way into our picture. You can see the number 30 was trying to make a move. Fran Rueda has already made 5 places and I think was about to make another, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. 8-time race winner in this championship as they come through the bus stop chicane for the first time. It's Riker who leads from Mancheca, DeHaan, but only half a second back is the number 17, so we could see some overtaking down the Kemmel Straight, and there they are now.
Yeah, and Heiko Neumann in the AM class lead now has actually got past Antares Au and into the top 10 overall.
Nicola Marinangeli looks like he was about to line up for food. That's Francorchamps there. I think he's going to make another place. He's at 12. Now he's about to go past the lead AM car, and I don't think we'll see too much of a fight there.
Yeah, so right as I said that, clearly at some point Antares Au got back past Heiko Neumann. They were side by side in the chicane. There is Porsche, and there is Francorchamps making his way past Heiko Neumann as well. That is for 11th place into Les Combes. Here's Pietro Perolini.
Oh, no.
Oh, we've got our first major problem there. It's the 90 Enrico Fulgenzi Racing GT3 Cup car of Shintaro Akatsu that stopped at the
made a decent start as well, so that's a real shame for them. Will we see a safety car? If that car can't get going again, possibly. Yellow flags are out, but here we go. Here we look at our leaders. Still very close, isn't it, between the top four. We've got to keep an eye on the recovery here of Pietro Perolini. The task has already been started into 18th place now, looking to break another one, but this is a good fight here. We've got the likes of Nicola Marinangeli defending from Maximilian Poole, who's not made the best start to this race, dropped a couple of places, and I imagine that's going to be a safety car. The number 90 in a different place to where we first saw it. That's the number 21, who's also hit problems, Camille Pellian, the Cup AM car. That's a real shame for them. So this might bunch up the field once more. And there you can see on the left of your screen, the winners and losers. Francorchamps up 7. We've got Di Lorenzi up 11 places to 37th place. As I said, Maximilian Poole dropped a couple, but I think the biggest winner has been Francorchamps in the top 20. Oh, look at this. Side by side into Blanchimont, anyone? Yeah, I think so. There we go.
Amazing stuff from Steve Jans in the Get Speed Mercedes, getting past the Olymp Mercedes there. Very brave stuff in the early stages of the race. Calm down, guys. There's still 135 minutes remaining. Top 4 has really closed up, hasn't it? Riker, Mancheka, Dehan and Pitamba right together.
Clearly good work.
Still have those yellow flags.
Yeah, clearly good work by the marshals though to get us in a position where we can keep this race going, and that's fantastic work for there. Someone is boxed, so someone with a problem. We're not into, we've not reached 28 minutes yet, which is when the first pit stop window opens. It's just minimum pit stop times first time round, which is 135 seconds for GTOpen as they come down the Kemmel Straight once more. A lot of smoke.
Someone's been off. Look at those lines. Yeah. So, wow, someone's had a moment at Les Combes. It was the CBRX by SBS Mercedes of Dexter Muller coming into the pits there, by the way. And that is the 133 Kessel car of Murat Çağrıoğlu, which I believe is currently being driven by Tabachi. Oh no, it is Çağrıoğlu in that car, but clearly a problem there on his return to the championship.
Real shame. Here we pick up Francorchamps. Behind is that number 30 car, which did a fantastic job in qualifying and went quite literally flying through Puon. Let's look back at the start, Chris.
Yeah, so Diego Mancheka once again making a very good getaway there. Gets straight up alongside Sam Dehan on the inside. Now let's see if we can see where the problems arise. It looked like the Oregon car of Perolini was tipped into that spin, but couldn't quite make it. This will be a better view. So we're sort of looking in the middle of the pack there. Is that the Steve Jans Mercedes that it got caught up with there?
And someone just pulling up on the inside to try and avoid it. Here we go. Let's have a look on board then. We can see to the right-hand side of screen one of the Ferraris.
Gonna whack in a minute. There we go.
And that sent us round. So, I don't think anything the 19 Oregon could have done about that. Tipped it to a spin, but I think almost tipped back round again out of it, so was able to get going. Oh, wow, there we go. There goes another one. That's the number 11.
That's what you say.
So
the other Kessel. So
they have been dropping wheels there quite a lot, and this time it didn't go well. Now, I think that's damage to the front right. So when that car tried to get going again, it simply wasn't able to drive in a straight line, and the 11 briefly facing the wrong way for a great view into Lake Om, and then turn back round again. This is the 133 that just goes straight on, and there's got to be some sort of issue with that car.
Some sort of ABS issue, yes.
And I think that has come in. So I'm just trying to figure out the other car that came in. I think it was the 54.
It was 54.
Dexter Müller.
Yes, it was indeed the car that he shares with Yannick Mettler. So
Yannick
not an
Mettler,
ideal start.
a driver that doesn't really get a lot of luck here over the years, but they've still got plenty of time to try and close back down. 2 hours and 12 minutes exactly as we watch the 69 there of we've got Maximilian Paul trying to come through the order. This is the 17, that's the 69 of Dehaan. Maximilian Paul in the 63, a little bit further back, easy to spot out in that Oregon liveried car. And there it is, the pink front to the car, trying to get past Nicola Marinangeli.
Yeah, they've sort of dropped Mikael Pitamba a little bit, and that quartet has turned into a trio. Here's some of the action further down in the Cup field. The 80 Myrtel car, well, the 88 getting a little out of shape here, but the car that leads in GT Cup going side by side here with the 77 EST1 Racing Porsche. They're in amongst the GT3 cars as well, because there's Giuseppe Cipriani recovering from his moment through the gravel at La Source on the opening lap and having to get back up the order. Cipriani, who normally runs solo in that car, sharing it with Jens Lieberhauser this weekend, because it's the endurance racing, you have to have a second driver.
Now, for any new viewers to International GT Open, first of all, welcome to you. Where have you been all this time? This Spa Enduro, I'm sure many people might be tuning in for the first time, so just to bring you up to speed, the class is denoted by the backgrounds to the numbers there on the left-hand side as we watch a move. Is this going to be successful? 67, good driving. There is another overtake, there'll be many more of those. Red backgrounds denote the Pro class, blue backgrounds denote the Pro-Am class, green backgrounds denote the Am class, and then we move into the Cup class, which usually doesn't race with GT Open, but it's the Spa Enduro, so let's throw them out all together. The purple backgrounds denote the Cup class and the Am, and then the yellow denotes the Cup class with the Pro-Am. So there you can see our lead Pro-Am in 8th place, our lead Am in 12th place, and then as we work our way back down, our lead Cup car is in 24th, doing an amazing job in the 119, and our lead Cup Pro-Am, which should be ahead, Jorge Cabezas, which is in 29th place.
And here is some of that action once again through the bus stop chicane. It's a mix of GT3 Cup Porsches in amongst the GT3 Lamborghini, and being led by the Ferrari 488 Challenge there, number 80.
Look at the speed from the...
I'm not surprised by that at all.
That's absolutely amazing.
Fernando Navarrete in the 488 Challenge is the fastest car down the straight, because
270.
It is something like a 670 horsepower engine that car's supposed to have, the 3.9 litre.
No wonder it's moving up the order.
V8. So yeah, the interesting way of competing with the GT3 and the GT3 Cup.
That started 39th place. 15 places gained.
Incredible.
Wow, there's going to be a lot of people cheering for Fernando Navarrete now in the 119. I can tell you, 7/10 behind the next car ahead. Let's jump on board with Reece Barr. Shall we have a little listen with Pitamba, who's currently in that car?
.2 litre V8 in the front of that Mercedes AMG, makes an absolutely cracking noise, and has just set the fastest lap of the race at 2:21.577. That was some half a second quicker than our race leader.
Those are the 3 leaders ahead. This is P4 we're on board with.
Yeah, and it's closing back up now. Pitamba was dropping pace a little bit.
Sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you to the guys in the truck for letting us have that.
Simon Riker, the race leader, getting a little wide into the bus stop chicane, and now the top 3 are right together as we come across the line to start lap 6.
The top 5 are split by 3.5 seconds as they come in towards turn number 1. Are we going to see a move here, Chris? I mean, 3/10 back, that's going to be good enough for a tow, I reckon, so let's keep an eye on it. But fastest lap, Fran Rueda down in P8, chasing after the 7th place 99 car of Patrick Kolb.
Now remember, the Mercedes in Portimao was certainly the fastest car in a straight line, and it still seems to have a little bit of a straight line speed advantage here at Spa as well, which is really going to come in handy. But it is a little jink out there from Diego Mancheca, but it's the 6.2 litre V8 against the 5.2 litre V10 in the Audi. And then, of course, Sam de Haan's McLaren, powered by a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 as well. That is the new Evo edition of that car as well, new for 2023, which has completely reworked the front kinematics of that car, which Optimum seem to have really hit the ground running with, while things like Greystone yet to really get on top of those changes, but Optimum doing an absolutely cracking job. And what's great about this as well is you have our de facto top two in the championship of Mancheca and Sam de Haan, second and third on the road together right now.
I've got to say, it's great to see the Soul Audi out there leading the field, but under pressure from the Mercedes behind it. Did win in the Pro-Am class last year with Marcin Jedlicki and Karol Baz. They've switched cars for this year. 7 different manufacturers represented, and the one Audi is the one leading the way as we jump back on board with Mikhail Patamba. You can see running it right to the gravel, and now once again fighting with the wheel as well. Absolutely fantastic on boards, and now it's get in the tow, chase after those 3 ahead. Mikhail Patamba well in the fight for the race lead here.
Diego Mancheca, winner of the Dubai 24 Hours this year. How he'd love to have another endurance race win under his belt as he looks towards the inside of the bus stop chicane, but just trying to fill Simon Riker's mirrors, and that's the second lap in a row that Simon Riker has got it wrong under braking for the bus stop, but not in any way that's going to cost him a place to Diego Mancheca there. This is officially a quartet for the lead now, because Mikhail Patamba is now only 0.6 of a second behind Sam de Haan. 1.5 seconds covers the top 4.
And I can tell you, Maximilian Paul, that car there, 5th in queue. You'll see the Oregon car, it's not hard to miss. The pink and yellow liveried car has just done a personal best time, 2:21.5. That's 1 second quicker than our leader, Simon Riker, as they come up ready on. So keep an eye on the Oregon car. It is absolutely flying. Maximilian Paul wants to be part of this lead quartet. Then it's Nicola Marinangeli, who could be falling into the clutches here of the 99 of Patrick Kolb. After that, Fran Rueda, here they come. So there goes Marinangeli, there goes Kolb, here comes Fran Rueda, who has the fastest lap in this race. The lead Pro-Am, but could be taking it to the Pro cars very shortly. We shouldn't be surprised with Fran Rueda and the experience and success he's had in this championship.
Yes, of course, the Pro-Ams can mix it up with the Pro runners when they have their Pro in, but yeah, in theory, they'll be slower across the race. Now, this is the Q1 Cup Porsche, going toe-to-toe here with the 81 Murtaugh Motorsport car. That's a new entry for this weekend. And we had a little side-by-side through Eau Rouge there with a pair of Porsche Cup cars, with Giuseppe Cipriani now looking to make a move on them as well. Here come the leaders out of the Fagnes chicane and down towards Stavolo. And how long is Diego Mancheca going to sit in the wheel tracks of Simon Riker? Of course, the thing he can do as Simon Riker gets it very close to the gravel out of Corfret, but of course he can just fuel save for a little bit, can Mancheca.
Yeah, completely right.
And extend his stint a little bit, not to the point where they'll go past the pit window, of course, but Diego Mancheca's really pushing. You see he's straddling the curb on the exit of Blanchimont. Is he going for the move this time? Trying to distract Simon Riker. That time Riker actually got it into the apex, but he's practically pushing him out of the corner. Absolutely nose to tail between the top 2 at the moment. Sam de Haan and Mikhail Patamba, and now Maximilian Paul is right in this fight. And here comes Mancheca for the lead of the race into La Source. Pushes Simon Riker out a little bit wide, and is that going to allow Sam de Haan to come through as well? Not quite. The Motorsport boys loving seeing their car up at the front of the field now, because Diego Mancheca hits the front.
Great move there from Mancheca, left it quite late, but a clean move. But Maximilian Paul closing in all the time, but it's the car in 4th place. We need to watch the one we were on board with a little while ago, and let's jump back on board. Mikhail Patamba, what on earth are you doing He says, I was on the outside and getting squeezed to the grass there, and Petamba, no option but to get out of the throttle. Was not pleased with that at all. Gloves off in International GT Open. We still have a long way to go in this race, just over 2 hours to be exact, but they are fighting like we're in the final 5 laps.
Sanderhan was really pushing.
Petamba runs wide, and here comes Maximilian Poole trying to sneak down the inside. Not quite able to do it, but Petamba is going to lose some toe now, and that's going to leave him very, very vulnerable as we go down to bus stop chicane next time.
Yeah, Paul had to get up on the grass there, basically way over the curb to try and avoid being clipped there by the SBS Mercedes. Here's a replay of the move from Diego Mancheca. A late lunge up the inside there. That is the definition of block pass, isn't it? And Sanderhan fancied a run as well, because he had the clean line through the corner, and he was side by side on the exit of the corner, but the Audi got the better run down the hill towards Eau Rouge. And then, of course, Petamba fancied a run at it as well and got squeezed onto the grass. But here we go again. So Mancheca's sort of checking out now. He's already 1.7 seconds clear of the battle for second place.
That's what he was waiting for. Get the move done, get the foot down, and get a gap. Mancheca doing a really good job here. Fighting behind for second, though. Are we going to see any moves coming up shortly? I think if we do, it's going to be for second place. Sanderhan in the 69 in the middle of our frame there, getting ready for a potential lunge. He's just seen what Mancheca's done. Is he going to try and pull that exact same move off? I wonder. We are getting a lot of warnings for track limits, so the guys are going to have to be careful with that. They're coming in quite quickly now as we come in towards La Source, and then those 3 cars behind also could be coming into play here as well. And Marinangeli and Kolb have now been joined by Fran Rueda. He is on the back of them, so we've got a trio now fighting for 6th place as well. This is the fight for second, though. What the view must be from the grandstand up at Eau Rouge. It must be absolutely spectacular, as we are also approaching our GT Cup cars as well. But let's watch this battle for second. Down towards Lecom, are we going to see a move? Not quite, but yeah, the GT Cup cars, we are going to have some traffic now, Chris.
Yeah, this is an all-important factor of this race. It's been a while since the GTOpen and GT Cup grids have been combined, but just for this endurance weekend, a slight variation on the format run for the Enduro last year as well. Mancheca's successfully navigated that number 70 Cup AM car of Roberto Bosio. It'll be up to everyone else to do it as well, but there were some concerns about some of the behaviour of some of the Cup cars, because they're not used to being lapped in their races either.
No, very good point. Here we go. This is the man who has been saying some fastest lap, Fran Rueda. We jump on board with him now through Pau, and he can see the traffic ahead. He can see Marinangeli is going to be catching it at potentially a pretty difficult time, but good driving from that GT Cup driver just to move out of the way. But Nico Marinangeli going in a little bit too deep into the Fanga chicane there. Someone kicking up some dust on the exit of it. That's one of our leaders, I think, as they now come down in towards Stabilo.
Fran Rueda, a multiple winner in GTOpen, of course, and a championship runner-up in 2017 and 2018. He is the Pro-Am leader at the moment in the Greystone, or the altitude racing by Greystone McLaren, I should say, and he's on the back of the Pro runners as well, looking at the back of Patrick Kolb's Line Speed Porsche. But here's that battle for second place. Simon Riker has yielded the lead, and now has Sam Dehan filling his mirrors. The red zebra is, what do zebras do? Prowl? Hunt? Do they hunt?
I've no idea. I don't know why. I can tell you what race cars do, but yeah, when we get to that, maybe a bit later into the road, maybe when we've got a bit
safety car, we'll look it up later.
Yes.
So 118 minutes still to run.
Has it got to you already? I mean, it is quite hot in here, and it's even hotter out there, the temperature. We did not expect this when we were packing for Spa. I honestly didn't think we were going to come to this, but drivers, fans, absolutely loving it. Someone cutting over. I think that might have been Radion, possibly. And now in the tow, Sam Dehan closing in. He's going to be to the right-hand side of screen. Maximilian Poole trying to go side by side as well with Mikhail Petamba. Petamba has the best seat in the house for this. Side by side for second, round the outside. There goes Sam Dehan into second place. Brilliant driving.
Cracking move from Shanahan there. Not an unfamiliar face in the international scenes after many years of British GT racing, and of course he and Fran just announced their plans to do the Spark 24 hours later this year as well. So I'm sure he'll be. That's a rehearsal move for later in the year as well. Knows he can make it work.
A big move in terms of this race, though. He's put him into second place, but 4 seconds the gap for Diego Mancheca, the leader. Here we jump on board with Pitamba. You can see a little bit flustered, I think, is Simon Riker running a little bit wide, and it's allowed Sam DeHaan to get away, and now it's Pitamba. That's the one that's in the mirrors of that number 23 car, and Maximilian Paul just behind, ready to pounce as well. What's going on behind? We've still all 3 in the line, 4 possibly. I think that was a bit of traffic actually, so 3 in that fight for 6th place. Lead Pro-Am is Fran Wareda, lead Am is Heiko Newman, and then Fernando Navarrete, still the lead Cup car, in 24th place, doing a superb job.
Certainly is. Of course, this Simon Riker Audi being shared with Christopher Harter, so I'm sure at some point in the race it will be lighting up the timing screen with fastest sectors, and potentially recovering some of the positions lost so far in this stint, as Riker got the back end out just a whisker in the bus stop chicane. Next up behind him is Mikael Pitamba in the SPS Automotive Mercedes, and Maximilian Paul. Maybe he fancies a run at the Mercedes first, looking towards the inside of Pitamba, getting his elbows out there in the braking zone.
I thought he was going to go for it there, but Pitamba was wise to the challenge, wasn't he? Maximilian Paul has another chance now down the Kemmel Straight. Here we go, through Eau Rouge, up Radion. Cars moving all over the place, drivers wrestling with them in one of the most spectacular corners in motorsport. And now we head down the Kemmel Straight. No surprise to see our leader is the quickest car on circuit with the gap that he's been able to pull. Team Motorpark doing a fantastic job there with Diego Mancheca, but here is the fight for 3rd place. There's 3rd in the red and white, that's Riker. There in the silver is Pitamba, and behind in the pink, green and yellow liveried car, that's Maximilian Paul. And this is Nicola Marinangeli in the AF Corsa with that 99 car just behind.
And we have 6 different manufacturers in the top 7 as well, which is
fantastic, isn't it?
Great to see, yeah. As DeHaan going through on one of the Cup cars into Pouan. And the Lamborghini here in the back of this trio of cars, looking much more competitive than it did in Portimao, that's for sure. They've had a slight BOP change, a bigger restrictor on their 5.2-litre V10 now. And look at this. This is what I mean about the traffic, because Simon Riker there was getting very balked up behind some of the lapped traffic.
He's never read. Spin.
That's Pitamba. Pitamba there. So we're talking about the traffic. I'm sure that this was trying to lap another car, because the 166 is involved as well, which is...
That's Vecchio, isn't it?
Yes, the GTL car.
Wow. Well, what a big twist this could be in the race. The number 20 car beached in the gravel. Fans on the terrace are going to be going, where did that go?
Yeah. Well, of course, that's now put Maximilian Paul's Oregon Lamborghini up into 4th place. And now looking at the back of Simon Riker for the last spot on the podium, provisionally anyway. So that's really only affected Pitamba there, I think, and of course the GTL car that was caught up in it as well. And this is Marinangeli getting caught up here with the Street Art Aston Martin car. Patrick Kolb lights up the rear Michelin's on the 911 Porsche, trying to go through. This is the Uber car, Antar Azawa and Heiko Neumann. Not for the first time this race going side by side for a spot in the top 10. Heiko Neumann on the inside there. It's an AM car against the Pro-Am Porsche, and Steve Jans in another Pro-Am car, the Mercedes, trying to get involved in this as well. So Antar Azawa's got through on the exit at La Source, and Neumann ends up yielding the position to the Get Speed Mercedes as well.
I can tell you the yellow flags are still waving at that corner. So we will keep an eye. We'll keep you posted if there's any changes. We'll bring them to you immediately. But
turn 14, which is
yellow flag. Safety car has now gone on standby as well. So safety car at the ready should we need it. Here we go. We're watching the number 911 car. This is Jans. This is drivers fighting for 4th place in the Pro-Am class. Don't forget, podiums for all the classes, so drivers...
Safety car deployed.
Everything to fight for. And Chris Stevens correctly says the safety car is being deployed. No surprise there. It looked like those 2 cars were beached. Here we go.
So here's what happened. Oh, so it wasn't anything to do with the Cup car. The poor Cup car was in exactly the wrong place at exactly the wrong time to be caught up by Pitamba's own incident with Maximilian Paul.
Well, there was no room on the inside there, was there? Maximilian Paul took a lunge down the inside. Mikhail Pitamba felt the impact of it. And that is what Fran Rueda saw as he came round Stavolo. Did we have more contact here? Almost a repeat incident there with 2 different cars. The number 88 twisted into a spin, sadly, at Lacombe. I believe that car did get going, though. We came round the next time and we did not see any yellow flags. But here we go. Safety car is out. We are getting towards the pit window is postponed. So the pit window had quite literally just opened 40 seconds ago. It has now been postponed. So we won't see all the cars coming into the pits at the same time. We don't want 51 cars diving into pit lane, which is what they would all do. So pit window will be postponed.
Our new rule for this year, of course, is that you can't pit under the safety car anymore. So yes, race control taking the right decision there to postpone the pit window, which of course means all our notes about when the pit windows are, may as well put them in the bin now. But
well, it runs till 42 minutes, doesn't it? But we'll see that the pit window will open and it will stay open for 14 minutes. So I'm sure we'll see a lot. It's now a case of teams on the radios to the drivers to work out when it is that they want to come into pit lane. But first, we've got to get those cars out, and then we go racing once more.
There's the CBRX by SPS Mercedes, second in that queue. That's the one we saw come into the pits earlier.
Did we see it? Did anyone actually manage to make it in before that? I mean, we've got the 54 that did come in, but that already, was didn't it? Yeah,
a while ago.
Quite literally, no one had come in, and it was just about to, if not just opened within seconds. And then as quickly as the pit window opened, it was postponed. So there we go.
Right, well, let's take stock then while we've got the safety car out. Diego Mancheca leads overall in the team. Motorpark Mercedes, head of the Optimum McLaren of Sam Dehaan, and the East Talent Audi that started on pole position with Simon Riker at the wheel is in 3rd. Fran Rueda in the altitude racing by now, Greystone McLaren leads Pro-Am in 7th overall. Then comes Marco Pulcini in the 27 AF Corsa Ferrari. Eddie Cheever will be taking over the wheel of that car later on. And then Florian Scholzer in the Team GT Mercedes. That started on Pro-Am pole is 3rd. They're all line astern at the moment. The AM category is being led by Heiko Neumann still in the 65 Motorpark Mercedes in 12th overall. Ahead of Christian Korzanowski in the Ferrari from Olymp, and then Alessandro Cosi in 25. That's another AF Corsa Ferrari in 3rd in Pro-Am. The lead Cup car is actually one of the AMs, which is Fernando Navarrete in 119, which is the Myrtle Motorsport Ferrari 488 Challenge. That is 23rd overall, and Cup Pro-Am being led by Jorge Cabezas in 25th overall in the sister Myrtle Motorsport car. And we'll see where the other Cup cars are, because they are well clear of Remy van Straten, which is the 3rd Cup car in 29th. But of course, this safety car is going to punch them back up again.
Yeah, well, that's really our first major incident, isn't it? Since we had a, if you can call it that, we had the spin at the start, which heavily affected the 19 Pietro Perolini, along with a couple of other cars. But since then, that's the first real big incident that we've had. Sadly, our lead quartet will be shrink slightly with the number 20 going out, and Maximilian Paul, no doubt that incident will be looked at, but for now Maximilian Paul runs in P4.
Mais là, on pense à une équipe comme par exemple, alors que la Mercedes
two Porsches leading the cup
change will open at 20 minutes past 1, which is now.
Ah, interesting. So well, we just saw Pitamba there back
change
in,
on. So
and the pit window is now open.
You can come in. Right, here we go. Are we going to see everyone dive in?
Well,
we've not seen people yet, but
some of them looking like they're going to be doing it, but no, it doesn't look like it.
There we go.
Yeah, now we've got one car in, and safety car is in this lap.
So lots of people diving for pit lane. It's going to be very busy down there, and there we see a good 5 or 6 cars make that 7 now as another car comes in, particularly those towards the back, filtering in. Here we go.
Yeah, so we've got Polcini in, the AM class leader of Heiko Neumann as well. Steve Jans is in the pits, as is 25, I believe, as well. So Eddie Cheever now getting on board the AF Corsa number 27.
Yep, so minimum pit stop times for Pro-Am 135 seconds. Handicaps will be served, as Chris said at the top of the show, the third and final stop, 230 seconds for our Cup cars. That is the minimum pit stop time. Tyre changes happening, fuel going in. Drivers must change as well. You cannot double stint. So we will see new drivers jumping in, and these will be the drivers that will take us actually to the end of the race when we complete the third and final stops. But this is our first of 3 pit stop windows. It's now open. I thought we might have seen a few more, but maybe the guys at the front just didn't quite jump to the opportunity, or didn't quite realise, but we've seen a good, I'd say 10 cars come into pit lane. We had the likes of, as you said, 27, 911, 65 came in, the 777, another car, also 32 as well. So Carol Baz in the 777 now, Martin Kodrich in the 32, plenty of cars coming in.
Yeah, and including Axel Jeffries in 26 as well. That's the Racing 1296 Ferrari, and he's on board for the rest of the season. He missed out the opening round. He had a clash with another series, but he's alongside Omar Jackson for the remainder of the year. And also getting on track now is Luca Ludwig, a legendary name among the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And he is racing for Mertel Motorsport in the 81. That's their new entry for this weekend as well.
Yeah, Xander Rijblack is also in. Remember commentating on him in the BNL karting series, huge karting series over here in Belgium, and Xander was a very successful driver in that. That's not something you usually see in a pit stop. It's just tyres and fuel usually, but clearly something wrong with that one. But safety car is in this lap, so very shortly the speed will be handed over to Mancheka, Chris, and we are about to go racing once more. You can see we are using the full pit lane, so they drive round the inside of La Source and all the way down. You can see we've got some of the Cup cars based on that side.
Interesting message just popped up on the timing screen, which is all cars that entered the pit lane during the safety car is under investigation. Now, maybe just because the change was on doesn't mean you can actually come in because the safety car was out.
Well, as you said, that's a rule, isn't it? So
yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, Diego Mancheka leads the field away. The 54 Mercedes is going to have to get out of the way here because he's a lap down. And Sam DeHaan and Simon Riker come through. Yeah, that's him. Oh, he's in the pits.
So
and a few of them now trying to come into pit lane. It's a flurry of cars. Diego Mancheka is one of the few cars that's actually staying out.
So presumably they'll stayed out, yeah.
Yeah, presumably they'll extend this stint right up until the pit window closes. We've got a flurry of cars in now. Here's Pietro Perolini in 19 on his recovery drive, but this will be Dexter Muller handing over the car now. And Charlie Fagg getting on board the Optima Motorsport McLaren as well. Now remember, he absolutely charged through the order in the first race in Portimao. So we'll see what Charlie Fagg can do behind the wheel of that number 69 Red Zebra car. And, yep, Yannick Medler getting into the 54. This is Stuart Proctor handing over to Lewis Proctor. Father handing over to son in the Greystone McLaren. And so quite a few cars. Well, these are all the ones that came into the pits during the safety car, isn't it?
13 cars came in.
Yes.
But as you were saying, there was a rule that was changed for this year. Well, there we go. We will find out what happens there, and we'll keep you posted. But for now, green flags, and we have cars back racing once more. But we are into the first pit stop window, where everyone does have to come in and switch drivers.
And Matteo Cairoli, the Porsche Young Professional, now getting on board the Huber Motorsports number 30 car, the 992.
Did a superb job in qualifying.
Certainly did. And a very good job done by the Huber Motorsport team to repair that car after an incident on Friday afternoon in FP2. We were supposed to have two 992 Porsches here, with the Grove Racing team entering one as well, but they smashed their car up quite a bit more on Wednesday during testing, and they had to withdraw, not least because, well, parts for that car have been in pretty short supply over the course of the year, but Uber Motorsport managed to get theirs fixed, and they're here racing today. Diego Menchaca's got Spa-Francorchamps all to himself right now in the Team Motor Park car.
Yeah, 15 teams decided not to come in, so we have those 15 still circling around. Now, why are they doing this is going to be the question for some of you. Well, you want to extend the stint for as long as possible if you're going well, particularly Fran Rueda is the pro in that Pro-Am team. So he will want to do as long as possible. Menchaca has been doing a fantastic job, has been pulled a gap of 4 and a bit seconds before that safety car came out, so it would make sense to keep him out as well, and that's going to be the case for all of the teams that have stayed out. It will be a strategy that was worked out pre-race, and with a safety car they will keep to that strategy, some possibly changing strategy. No surprise there to see Maximilian Paul given a 5-second time penalty to be added, and that was for the move that was very unsuccessful on the number 20 Mikael Matamba, which has taken them out of the race.
Yes, no real surprise there, unfortunately. Laurent Emmaus, handing over to the pro Jamie Stanley in the 55 F Corsa Ferrari. Pietro Perolini in 19 Oregon car going into the pits and handing over to Dan Arrow as well. So not the start of the race Perolini was hoping for, getting turned around in the opening corner of the race, but has managed to get it going again, and the recovery drive continues.
Now this is going to be the part of the race where things will look a little bit confusing for a while, but once everyone has been in and out, we will know where we are. Don't forget the minimum pit stop time for all the international GT Open cars is 135 seconds. The handicaps which are added on to some of the front-running teams come in later on. That will be on the third and final pit stop. 237 for the Cup cars as well. Once everyone's been in and out, we'll know where we are, but what we do know on track is we've got a good little battle going on here on screen. Two cars that have been through, Charlie Fagg and Richard Leitz as well. Those of you who have been fans of GTOpen for a long, long time will recognise that name. Great to have Richard Leitz racing as Fagg tries to look down the inside, not quite able to make the move. We're still waiting for our top 8 on track to come in.
Yes, and you mentioned Richard Leitz there ahead of Charlie Fagg. I mean, we have effectively 3 works drivers in the form of Richard Leitz, Christopher Haase in East Allen Audi, and indeed Matteo Cairoli as well, 992 Porsche. But Charlie Fagg here, a McLaren development driver as well. We saw he certainly knows how to come through the order last time out, and he's trying to get past Richard Leitz here in the line speed Porsche, but has to settle in behind. So that's interesting because that's a car that was in second place overall, now behind car leads that was I think 7th before the safety car came out.
Now the pit stop window is going to close in 4 minutes time, so that's how long they have. Don't forget, it's an incredibly long lap, so you've got to be careful with coming in. You need to get in before that pit stop window closes. So either this time round or next time, we're going to see the remainder of the cars come into the pit.
Well, I think it has to be this time. It's a 2-minute 20 lap.
I think they could just squeeze one more in, but I'd say most are going to come. Surely going to come in this time. They can see the top 7 to the left-hand side of your screen have yet to come in. We've got an AMP car that hasn't come in either further down the field, the 007 car. So that's another one that will have to come in. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit of running wide. Is that a car slowing up? Is that some sort of mechanical issue with that car? We saw there it was slowing up quite dramatically. No, it's back at speed now. So just possibly a mistake running into that corner. Maybe doing a little bit too much to get out of the way of those two
yeah, the
cars.
traffic just trying to keep clear. Don't want to incur the wrath of the stewards.
Yeah, being very, very generous. Right, do we see these guys come in this time? No, it's going to be next time around that we see the rest of the cars filter in.
Oh no, Giuseppe Cipriani has beached his El Baron Rampante. Jens Lieberhauser, sorry. Apologies to Giuseppe Cipriani, but yeah, Jens Lieberhauser has beached the El Baron Rampante Lamborghini
as well.
Yep, and now in comes the race leader, Diego Mancheca, probably anticipating a safety car here.
Yeah, I was going to say, got in a very good time there, and I think everyone else is going to have to do the same thing if we get a safety car. Of course, all of those that did pit under the safety car are under investigation, so you'd expect all the cars that have yet to pit want to get in ASAP now. And Fran Vareda, fantastic stint, jumps out and hands over to Andrew Gilbert.
Yeah, cracking stuff from Fran Vareda in the opening stages of this race. Kiki Sagnana, meanwhile, is going to take over the wheel of that 786 Get Speed Mercedes.
And Navarrete is in as well.
Oh, no. Now we've got the Olymp Ferrari off as well. Now this, if we've still got the Lamborghini beached at Lake Comme, then we could definitely see a safety car soon, because Christian Korzanowski in the number 5 Olymp Ferrari has had a big problem down in Blanchimont.
I think everyone's now made it in. The number 5 yet to come in, but...
Well, the number 5's the one beached in the gravel.
Beached in the gravel, yes. Right. Well, that's not going to make it back.
I think you can forgive them for that.
That's not going to make it back to the pits, maybe on a truck, unless they can get dragged out.
Well, no sign of a safety car
here we go.
just yet. Excuse me, it wasn't Lake Comme for the Lamborghini.
From the number 5.
It was Fagna for the Lamborghini, but yes, it did just seem like too much speed into Blanchimont for Korzanowski.
He did a great job in qualifying as well, didn't he, Korzanowski? So
yeah,
that's
very rapid.
That's a real shame to see that they've spun like that. Taking too much speed on possibly just slightly cold tyres, coming through first time, and it's caught him out, unfortunately. That's a real shame for Christian Korzanowski.
So Cairoli immediately setting lightning pace, despite yellow flags being out there actually, but Cairoli doing what Cairoli does best, and that's setting blinding lap times. I'm upset because the Il Baron Rampante Lamborghini looks like to be out of the running before I got to give it my good fact about that team. But maybe I'll sneak, I'll sneak it out now, shall I?
Or do you want to? Is it going to save for next round, or is it going out?
No, it has to happen today. I'm too excited about it.
Let's go for it.
The race leader comes out to the pits ahead of Christopher Haase there. So I believe that's maintained the net race lead. We'll come to that. Christopher Haase getting very close actually to Diego Mancheca, but I'll quickly read this one out about the Lamborghini.
Go for it.
Because it's named after a book by an Italian writer. Italo Calvino wrote.
Almost side by side for the lead there. Driver change is finished. Continue, Chris. quick.
Wrote the Baron in the Trees in 1957, and it translates to Il Baron Rampante. There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Right.
Let's get back to the battle for the race lead.
Look at Haase
side by side.
on the grass. Unbelievable stuff from Chris Haase, and now the race leader getting caught up behind the Cup car. Safety car deployed just as it was getting very close for the lead. We're back under safety car conditions, and probably Diego Mancheca is breathing a sigh of relief there.
I hope.
Now I hope
he hasn't overtaken under yellows there.
Yes, now yes, because that Lamborghini is still in the gravel at the Fanier chicane. Oh wow. Yes, I hope that isn't a pass under safety car, because that could really spell trouble for the motor park car. Right,
so we've all been through pit lane and back out again. We can see, we'll get the order. Here we go then, let's have a look at this. So
yeah, well, Haase got just an excellent run out of the Jackie X corner and squeezed onto the grass by Mancheca, who then gets caught up behind the Cup car, right as the safety car was being deployed. And we see Korsanovski just got a glimpse there, still stuck in the gravel. Blanchimont as well. Highlights so far from the first hour of the race, which was Simon Riker leading the field away, while Diego Mancheca got up on the inside and took second place, but a disaster for Pietro Perolini and Steve Jans. They were caught up in an incident at the start of the race down at La Source. As cars filed their way through Eau Rouge for the first time after a pretty messy first corner, they all managed to file back into position. We saw plenty of battles up and down the field, including a little moment here, though, for the number 11 Kessel Ferrari. Spinning round out of curve, Paul Frere. Diego Mancheca took the lead of the race into La Source from Simon Riker. Sam Dehaene fancied getting into the action as well. There was this moment here, Michael Petamba tipped into a spin by Maximilian Paul and catching out one of the GDL Cup Porsches as well. That landed the Oregon driver with a 5-second time penalty. Mancheca handed over to Marcos Seeber in the pit stop phase, staying out quite a bit later than everyone else, but now we are under safety car conditions because Jens Lieberhauser and Christian Korsanovski have put it into the gravel in 2 areas of the track. So yes, of course, when I was talking about that battle with Haase, I of course meant Marcos Seeber was in the middle of the motor park car.
Well, there's a lot of drivers out there, so yes, I think it's quite easily done, isn't it?
And what's happened in the pit stop phase is that Eddie Cheever is now the overall leader. Maybe we'll get confirmation of that when they go over the timing line again. But of course, we saw plenty of the runners stay out beyond the safety car period.
Are we seeing some cars switch, some cars not?
Yes, well, of course, these are cars that came in under the safety car, which are under investigation, we have to remember as well. But the top 7...
That's where the switches come from, isn't it?
Yes, we've got Pro-Am, AM, and then 4 Pro-Am cars and an AM car in the top 7 at the moment. So Eddie Cheever for the AF Corsa Ferrari leads Timo Rumpfkeil in the team Motorpark car. Steve Jans Mercedes has seen better days there, but Carol Bash in the Olymp Mercedes 3rd. Martin Kodrick in the 32 Benaldi Motorsport Lamborghini, then Axel Blom in the 911 GetSpeed Mercedes, and then Axel Jeffries in the 26 Racing 1 Ferrari 296, then Giorgio Cernicchiotto in the AM AF Corsa Ferrari, and then our pro runners that we were watching battling for the lead with Marco Seeber and Christopher Haase.
Yeah, as we said, 13 cars came in under that safety car and were put under investigation for that. The change came on as the safety car was going to come in the next time around. So we'll see what happens there, but for now we'll call it as we see it. And that is Eddie Cheever leading the way. And he did another driver who was really fantastic in qualifying. It leaves what was the battle for the lead now down in 8th, 9th and 10th overall, but still the lead in the pro class. Marcos Seibert, Christopher Haase and Pierre-Louis Chauvet as well, who has jumped into that 63, and Agostini has taken over from Marin Angeli, but all the cars being closed together now.
There's Jens Lieberhauser, who's been extricated from the gravel trap, as has Christian Korzanowski. So wonderful.
Good that they can get back to pit lane.
Yes, but that car's now going to be doing a pit stop well outside the pit window now. I'm sure it was about to come in right when the window was closing.
But just come back out, isn't it? And it was a first lap spin. Right, lights are out on the safety car. We're about to get going once more here.
And of course, if you're one of the Pro-Am teams that has your pro in at the moment, you're annoyed that you've lost some of this time under the safety car, and indeed the advantage they all gained during the initial pit stop phase. But Eddie Cheever's AF Corsa Pro-Am Ferrari leads the overall standings ahead of the AM Mercedes of Timo Rumpfkeil at the moment. And now is that the SPS Automotive Mercedes that's in the middle of that, a lap down?
Yes,
it is indeed.
That's the car that was spun round.
That's actually Reece Barr behind the wheel of that car now. So he's going to have to do the painful thing and get out of everyone's way, really, or try and pass the Ferrari ahead of him and get on with it. Right, here we go then, we're back green again. The Benaldi car getting very wide on the exit of the bus stop chicane there, but still pointing in the right direction. And Eddie Cheever leads the field away in the AF Corsa Ferrari.
Got to watch out for these pro cars coming through as well. The numbers 17, 23, 63, 51. We'll keep you posted on their progress. They're going to now be trying to carve their way through the lead 7 cars. Eddie Cheever leading the way. Then we've got the number 20, which was involved in that spin, which has seen Maximilian Paul's car be given a 5-second penalty. And we're side by side in the background. That looks like the 65, about to lose a place to the 777. Carol Baz now in that car. Is he going to be able to go around the outside? Carol Baz will want to make that place. Oh, politely shown to the outside there by the 65. That's an AM team as well.
And the Benaldi Lamborghini trying to get involved in that as well. Very kindly shown the curb in the middle of the Lecom chicane.
Not surprised to see the headlights going.
Yes, and now I will say at the very beginning of this race, there was a message on the timing screen, a reminder that flashing is not allowed. But that seems to be more of a recommendation than a rule when it's heard by the drivers. So Carol Bash there trying to make his way up into second place overall, and Timo Rumpfkeil, the team principal of that motor park outfit, is holding his ground at the moment, despite being an AM car versus Pro-Am runner.
Mounting the curb. Seibert still ahead of Haase and Chauvet, but Chauvet under a lot of attack from Fag and Agostini and Leaks as well. So great little battle going on there for what would be third in the pro class and what was third overall. So we will keep an eye on those guys. That's a real good fight going on in the lower order of the top 10 currently.
Martin Kodrick still fancies away past Carol Bash here. The Benaldi Lamborghini. There's 2 cars from Benaldi, one of them starting right down the rear of the field. I'm trying to remember which one that was. I think it was the 33 when we're looking at the 32. And now, was that the Benaldi car going very wide again at the bus stop? It was indeed.
Possibly, yeah.
So, well, here's the race leader, Eddie Cheever, the third, the son of the very well-known F1 and IndyCar driver Eddie Cheever Jr. And he gets him. Whoa, now look at this. How about this for a train of cars into the bus stop chicane? Absolute gaggle of them, and they can't make it all through safely. Cairoli goes round, as does the Ferrari 488. We've got a traffic jam at the bus stop.
Yeah, quite an expensive traffic jam there as all the cars park up and now get going again. Good work by the drone there to give us the perfect overhead view of that.
I was getting really dizzy watching that. The drone was going round, cars were going round. So
that was just simply never going to work, was it? The amount in the line. Right, Marco Seeber in the 17 there, just putting a lap on another car.
Yeah, the 81 Myrtle. So I think that was the Greystone, definitely Matteo Cairoli's Uber Porsche caught up in that as well. As we see here, Charlie Fagg's got ahead of Ricard Leeds now for what is third in the pro runnings. And Pierre-Louis Chauvet has now got Agostini for close company.
You see them making their way downhill, and it's not a huge amount of time until the next pit window opens as well. They're only split by the first one closing and the second one opening by 21 minutes. So it won't be a huge amount of time before we see that open as well. As they make, oh, there we go. There goes the Oregon car hopping over that sausage curb that is placed on the exit of Pouan.
Yeah, Chauvet there getting very wide on the exit of Pouan, still in the very early stages of his GT racing career, having made the switch over from single-seaters last year.
So just 5 minutes as they come through Stavolo. It's 5 minutes exactly until next pit window opens. So as quickly as they all departed, we could see, particularly in the Pro-Am class, a lot of cars coming in. If it's the Am driver wanting to hand back over to the Pro driver, or if you're stuck in a battle or some traffic and you want to get out of it, like these guys were, you might come into the pits.
Yeah, so let's have another look at it. So it's the, is that the 169 Ferrari 488 Challenge as well, and it looked like there was a fourth car involved as well, or at least getting tagged. Oh, it was both the Greystone Run McLarens that got caught up in that, actually. So not ideal at all for them. I mean, there was about 20,000 cars trying to make the same corner at the same time. And it's really hard to see who actually instigated all of that, but definitely bits of carbon fiber flying everywhere while they were avoiding each other and ended up running into each other as well. Traffic jam at the bus stop.
There we go. That's a familiar saying, isn't it?
Well, it is like buses. You wait for one for ages, suddenly 53 GT3 cars come at once.
Oh, look at that, Andrew Gilbert.
Face full of Ferrari.
That's such a shame for them, because Fran put in a really good stint, and Andrew was, I'm sure, going to follow it up with a good stint of his own, but found themselves quite literally stopped in the chicane, and are going to have to try and redo all of that hard work. Fran will be back in the car. Andrew will take us to the flag when they make that third and final pit stop. Here's Eddie Cheever, the third, though. He's doing a great job out front so far in that number 27. He's got a gap of 5 seconds to Timo Rumpfel, who is being caught here by Karel Baz and Martin Kodrich. Those two are closing in on him for second place quite quickly. You can see the gaps to the left-hand side. That's the gap to the next car. In fact, Baz is going to be the one that might have to defend here. Kodrich closing up on him, so we will keep an eye on that battle as Eddie Cheever, the third, comes down to bus stop chicane. Next time around, we will be very close to pit stop window opening. 2 minutes and 35 seconds. It's about 2 minutes 20 is what we're seeing from the lead drivers. Some of those towards the back doing 2 minutes 25, 2 minutes 26.
And looked like Karel Bash there has finally got his man on Martin Kodrich, because Kodrich was again incredibly wide on the exit of the bus stop chicane.
That's a change of position.
On the inside there into La Source.
Yeah, change of third place. Good driving from Kodrich to get down the inside there. What's Karel Baz going to do in response? These guys fighting over third place as they come up Eau Rouge and Radion, two extremely talented car racers earlier in their career that have taken that into GT racing. Fantastic to see them racing at the highest level here, and they are making their way down the Kemmel Straight now. Hard on the brakes goes Kodric. Baz with him just behind, and I think he's going to sit in behind and get after the car that sits in second place overall. Michael Seibert 4 seconds ahead of Christopher Haase. Richard Leeds the second back from Charlie Fagg, having been passed by him just a couple of laps ago. But it's Charlie Fagg trying to get after Christopher Haase that I think we need to keep one eye on. Chauvet passed by Agostini, but still within arm's length, just 9/10 back, as it's just over a minute now until that pit window opens.
Definitely a talented karter, as you mentioned there, Chris, because Karel Bash ended up karting with the likes of Théo Pourchaire, Richard Verschoor, plenty of names you will have heard from junior.
Yeah, he was a factory driver for OTK for a very long time there. Arguably the biggest supplier of karts around the world. He raced for the Cosmic Racing Department. Hugely successful. Once coached me, actually, when I was able to go and test the new OK engine, which was made by OTK, and they said Karel Baz is going to be helping you out for the day, and I kept up with him for 2 laps whilst he was warming the engine, and then I didn't see him anymore. But very nice guy, very talented driver, and does a lot still to help out drivers. He works with a few F4 drivers as well, just Karel Baz. Saw him at Imola a few weeks ago coaching some of the drivers in those categories. But GTOpen is where his mind is focused after a very successful year last year. Karel Baz wants more trophies in his hand this year, and possibly another title too.
Pit window open once again, so I imagine we'll see this one extended by the teams ever so slightly, because, well, we've barely had any running since the last one shut.
I thought the 52 was about to just come in there, just as you said that, but decided
would have just been apt, I think, had he done that.
Yeah, but here comes the number 51. This is Agostini, who is got Chauvet there in the Oregon. You can see that Lamborghini, multicolored Lamborghini. There it is, third in queue. Chauvet trying to stay with Agostini. Those two have swapped places, so can Pierre-Louis Chauvet make those back up? I just want to see what happened to what was our former Pro-Am leaders and where they actually ended up. Andrew Gilbert is down in 25th place. They were in 8th place, in 7th place, down to 25th because of that incident we had. Let's go through some leaders, shall we, before they come into the pits. Am is the number 65, second overall. Pro-Am is the car that's leading the race, so our lead pro is Michael Seibert in 8th. Our lead cup car is now Pisani, and Przybyłak is leading in the Cup Am class. So Navarrete unfortunately dropping down the field, but a good job there from Pisani to be leading the Cup class only by 1.1 seconds.
Yes, and they're the two cars that we're watching at the moment, is Pisani and Przybyłak, not in the same class of driver, but definitely fighting on track at the moment, and Przybyłak there with a rather beautiful undercut. Puan goes through, so it's the 992 Cup Porsche passing the older 991 car. And we were talking about Andrew Gilbert and Fran Rader. Fran Rader's probably only had time to make a cup of tea, and he's back in the car again right now.
Good stuff. Well, he was driving so quick, wasn't he, that I guess it was a case of let's get him back out there as quickly as possible. Navarrete has just jumped back in. The 119 car, of course, went from 39th up to 24th at the start. Overall, is now running 40th, but has some distance to Przybyłak. So let's see what they can do. Of course, they have just done another pit stop, though, so 2 to their name, only 1 to the car of Przybyłak's name. It's going to start getting very busy down there. The pit lane only stays open for 14 minutes, so that's only a handful of laps, isn't it? 5 maybe.
Now, that was for position, with Seibert going through on Serna Giotto, and the AKM Motorsport here getting
trying to come into the pit lane.
Yes, it looked like the 119 there, the Murtel car, was trying to get into the pit lane. The AKM Mercedes getting a bit of a tag there. This is how Przybyłak got past Pisani for what is 29th overall there. But yeah, just before we went to the replays, we saw Seibert arriving on the scene of the the cars ahead of him, so he's got past Cerny Giotto now for 7th overall. In comes
this is going to be
63.
Maximilian Paul getting back in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Carrying that penalty, of course. So 5 seconds added on for them. But Maximilian Paul gets back in. He was driving very quickly before that. I think Eddie Cheever's going to probably stay out for as long as possible here because he's doing pretty good times. 2:21.2 last time.
Well, he can't see anything. He's got Sparta all to himself at the moment.
Yeah, the quickest driver out there, I believe, is Leitz, actually. Ricard Leitz, 2:20.7 last time. So that's currently the quickest car on circuit. Make that Matteo Caroli did a 2:20.4. So that number 30 car, which was quite literally flying yesterday, is going to be on a charge today.
Yes, if you haven't seen the moment, I'm sure it will end up on the GTOpen social media at one point, but he was trying to round one of the Olymp cars that didn't quite leave him the space he expected on the exit of Pouhon. Ran off the circuit and rather took to the skies.
Hit the sausage curb and kept it planted.
It's the only way he knows how.
Because I think he even went quicker on that lap as well. Of course the lap didn't stand.
I'm wondering if Martin Kodrick has got a different track map to the rest of the field, because that's about the 5th time I've seen him go wide on the exit of the bus stop chicane. So clearly driving his own version of Spa-Francorchamps at the moment. Here's that sister Lamborghini from Penalty that we were talking about.
I'd love to tell you if he got a track limit warning, but there's so many that I really couldn't.
We can't keep possibly.
So here we go. This is one of the Mercedes coming in, flashing off the lights. It's not recommended, but get out the way, says the 22. Here comes Marcos Sieber into pit lane. So of course was leading the Procast. Diego Mancheka will get back into the car who started the race, got into the lead, timed the move quite well actually, and then pulled away by about 5 seconds before safety cars. It's fascinating is when you're watching in the pit lane and you hear all the noises, it is a really, really brilliant experience. Even if you're just sat across from pit lane, the noises that come from pit lane are really, really good for any motorsport fan to listen into.
So those pro runners, which are now being led by Christopher Haase, another driver who I imagine will run right to the end of this pit window, are currently 26 seconds behind our overall race leader, Eddie Cheever. And as talented as Christopher Haase is, that's not the kind of thing that's just going to get shut down in the next few laps. So we'll definitely see what happens with these leading contenders that came in under the first safety car. As we have those pro runners now just making their way through some of the traffic. GDL Porsche there keeping well off the racing line into the Fanier chicane.
7 minutes, just over 7 minutes left of pit window. So we've still got plenty to come in. I'd say just under half the field have come in. So still plenty of people to come there. You can see to the left-hand side of the screen, the top 15 that sit on track currently haven't come in to the pits, and a good few more after that as well. But on the other side of the start-finish straight, the pit lane, they're very busy with the Cup cars who are making their way in to drive a change, possibly change tyres, add some fuel as well, which needs to be done. Here's 69 car, Charlie Fagg, who is 1.1 seconds now behind the 23 of Christopher Haase. These two yet to take their second pit stop, and Charlie Fagg will want to be ahead of that car before he hands the car back over. But Haase was the quickest driver in qualifying yesterday, and quite comfortably as well. It was about half a second in the end, wasn't it? And it was his performance really that put that car on pole position. I know it's an average, but his time was so quick that it put them from what was out of the top 10 into pole position. It was a quite remarkable performance, and Haase doing similar things now. The lead pro car on circuit. We have had some pit stops, but currently sits as the lead pro car, only 1.1 seconds ahead of Charlie Fagg though.
Two Team Motorsport cars now lying astern as Timo Rumpf-Kyle has got
ahead of
sister car just ahead of him. Yep, that's Diego Mancheca ahead of him on track, but Rumpfkyle still got Kodrick for close company.
Oh no!
Now this is the 44 SB Racing.
That looks. Will that get? Let's see if that one gets going again. He looked like he was trying to fire up and go.
Yes.
That's Pisani.
Yes, less than ideal for Pisani's SP Racing Porsche.
Saw him fighting with Krijbelak, so that's a real shame. The race has turned on its head for them. But this is our battle for second overall.
Yes, astonishingly it is, between the entry of Timo Rumpfkyle and the Pro-Am car of Martin Kodrick as well, somehow for second overall because of the early safety car that we saw. Now, is this what happened to Pisani here? He's on the outside of Fran Rueda and flips the back of the McLaren. And he was going wheel to wheel there with a Metal Motorsport Ferrari as well, and just didn't want to pick his fight. Have they changed the layout of Spa since we started this race? Because now everybody seems to be going wide at the bus stop chicane. But there we go. And now Eddie Cheever is in the pits here. The 27 has come in. Marco Pulcini is getting back behind the wheel of the AF Corsa Ferrari, and that now puts Timo Rumpfkyle, the AM driver and the owner of Team Motorpark, in the overall lead of the race, Chris.
Leading the Spa Enduro. Great stuff. Well, as you said, as a team manager, he would have given a lot of advice on what you should do in the lead of the race, and now he's going to prove it for himself. Fantastic stuff, isn't it? Leading the way in the Spa Enduro, but I don't think for much longer, because Martin Kodrick got a really good run through the last right in Les Combes. Here's Matteo Caroli, who has come into pit lane. But for now, Rumpfkyle still leads the way. Let's see what the 32 can do. Oh, that's the...
a moment there for the Kessel for our...
Wow, that was a big moment for the number 38. Great save. That's what we want to see. That was Nicolo Ciro.
Very nicely done indeed. Now,
I'm not sure that's what he wanted to do, but
no,
we'll take
quite.
it.
But yes, Kodrick here still staring down the back of Timo Rumpfkyle here. Kodrick, the gold-rated driver from Croatia, 25 years of age, another driver who's made the switch from single-seater racing, which he did so in 2016, as many people do, turning to Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and is a race winner in GTOpen as well, and indeed a class winner at the Bathurst 12 Hour. So not somebody you'd want in your mirrors.
No, not at all. I remember watching him in the very early stages of his career when he came over to the UK to do some racing in what was KF3 at that time, the top class, and he was one of the top drivers, not only in the UK at the time, but across Europe and the world. And it's been amazing to see him go on to have such a illustrious career, and now, of course, fighting for wins in GTOpen.
And both now in the pits as well, the top two, and the SB Racing Porsche, we just saw, is stopped on the entry of the pit lane.
That is a notice that is up on timing. Car 44 stopped at the pit entry, so we will see what happens with that. But what we do know is that there's only 1 minute and 40 seconds left for change on, Chris, and once that is stopped, the pit lane will close. So anyone on a lap is going to come in at the end of it if they haven't already. But it's going to get very busy down there.
Yeah, we've got a flurry of cars in there now. The Optimum Motorsport car in the pits, as is the Line Speed Porsche, as Marcin Jedlinski getting back into the Olymp Mercedes as well. Now we've got some side-by-side between two Ferrari 488 challenges.
It's never ending, isn't it?
Kessel versus Mertel. Now this was a battle we saw in Portimao a fair bit, and it's the Kessel Ferrari ahead for the time being.
Yep, Navarrete, who was doing lots of overtakes. Let's see if we're going to see another and catch this one in the picture, because he was carving his way through the order in the early stages. He's going to make that one look pretty easy. Just breezes past, got a good run up the hill, and Navarrete makes another place. So the fight back continues from a car that unfortunately found itself in some trouble coming into that final chicane, when we had a few cars all ended up parking up. Here's the number 91, goes back down and gets ready to go back out onto the circuit. One of the final cars we're going to see coming in to pit lane. There's only a handful now yet to come in, and there's only 17 seconds left on the clock. So I think pretty much everyone has now come in. This might actually be one of the last cars to be leaving pit lane, Chris.
So Polcini here in the 27F Corsa Ferrari, having been handed the car over from Eddie Cheever, and it retakes the lead now.
Yep, there you can see the likes of
going past the cars there.
Yeah, Jedlinski as well. So we will go through the order, I guess, once all these cars get back out. Yes. It's a long old drive here, isn't it? And that's a steep hill, as you found out yesterday as well, to get up Eau Rouge.
It's a rite of passage. My first time at Spa, had to go and climb.
What have you made of it so far?
I mean, they're not joking when you say all you can see when you go up Eau Rouge is sky and the top of a couple of trees. It is something to behold. And if you ever do come to Spa, then I highly recommend you go and see it for yourself as well.
One of our colleagues did walk it as well, didn't he? Adam walked the circuit and said it took him, what was it, 2 hours? I know Gerard Shee in Euroformula took them an hour and a half to get round, with some stops as well. It's a long circuit, isn't it? And the elevation is spectacular. When you're up on the terrace, you can see Bruxelles, but you're looking up to see it, which is absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, and you can just about see through what is now the Jackie X corner, this corner right here, as well, which of course was commonly referred to as Speaker's Corner, because it was one of the few corners you could actually see from the commentary box.
Yeah, you can just see it, or you can see the cloud of dust that comes up when someone runs wide.
So, Sandra Muir there in 32 is second, and now has Heiko Neumann in 65 just behind him. So that was the car that Martin Kodrick got past just before the driver change there. Heiko Neumann's left his blinker on as well, so just to make people think, oh, I'm going one way, I'm going to go the other.
This is now still our overall leader, Polcini.
By 10 seconds. And now the pro runner, Sam DeHaan, just went through there on Simon Riker, and they are 20 seconds off the overall lead, and right on the back as well of the Pro-Am runner of Marcin Jedlinski. So I'm sure we're going to see those cars start to move up the order very quickly. But it is 10 seconds Polcini's advantage to this battle for second place. And there we could just caught a glimpse of it, the battle behind, as Neumann throws one up the inside of La Source, straightens the car up, but not before Sandra Muir gets back through.
I mean, that was just never going to work, was it? It was too tight, unless you put a handbrake on or something and went pure rally style. The angle was just not right for a move there.
The gravel's right there as well for rally style as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a bit of that today, but I had to give it a go. I guess was close enough to do it, so why not? Well, I almost knew as if the cameras were on him, as how they come down the Kemmel Straight and now in a good position to get a tow. Is this going to be take two this time into Lake Com? Not well, going in almost into the back of the number 32 there, and I think Neumann is in a real rush to get through, and now he goes through.
But right behind them, we just saw a glimpse of it, is the absolute mammoth of cars that I think is being led by Omar Jackson now. How many is that in a queue there? 5, 6 of them? All
there they are.
Here they are. So Omar Jackson leads this pack. There's the CBRX Mercedes getting out of the way. It's got a lap down. And the Audi all over the grass there. Simon Riker making contact with the Olymp Mercedes as well. Remember, that's the car that Christopher Haase was just driving as well. Here's a moment here. The Volcano Motorsport Porsche into the back of the Q1 Porsche. Perfectly synchronized spins there. Brilliantly coordinated 360s.
That's a line from the judges, that.
You couldn't make that up, because they couldn't do that again if they tried. But unfortunately, the 116, which I believe has Evgeny Leonov at the wheel, it does indeed, and sharing that car with Adam Christodoulou this weekend, straight into the back of the Q1 Porsche. Not ideal at all. Nico Van Dierendonk, I think that was. And yeah,
safety
here is
car.
Safety car again. Now, is that because we saw the yellows at turn 18 for that SP Racing?
Possibly, unless there's something we didn't see before. I think I'm seeing a 21 maybe stopped elsewhere as well. So I think we've got a car up at Les Combes. I think it's the number 21 car that's stopped up there, looking at the track map. And we've also got this one as well, but...
that's astonishing, because I don't have a 21 on the entry list.
Okay, so well, that's a timing glitch then. I'm going to say it's for the car on the entry to pit lane then.
Yes, that might be the case indeed. Now, for the pro runners, that's going to be very ideal, because that's going to bring them right back into play with the top runners at the moment, because that gap had gone out to 16 seconds. Porcini's
that's really bad news
lead.
for Porcini, isn't it?
Awful.
So here is the car that's second overall. So leading is that Ferrari at the front of the field. It had a 16-second gap. That's now been diminished. All that's in the way for Heiko Neumann is 3 cars. Sandro Amura is next. This is fantastic news for the pro cars as well, with Sam Dehaan in 4th. Here's our 2 highlights.
Highlights from the second hour of this race. It was Simon Riker leading the field away at the start of the race, and Diego Mancheca getting right up on the inside there, taking second place away from Sam Dehaan. Unfortunately, Pietro Carolini was tagged by Steve Jans, and a couple of drivers getting caught out in the opening stages as well. Giuseppe Cipriani went for a trip through the gravel, as did Christian Korzanowski. That brought out one of the safety cars. This moment here with 3 cars ending up spinning into the bus stop purely because there was no space for them all. That included Matteo Cairoli's 992 Uber Motorsport Porsche as well. Early safety cars means that we've got a real mix of Pro-Am and Am contenders at the front of the field, and it was the 32 Bonaldi car making up places. And the battles in the Cup class raging on as well. This was Pisani against Prisbilak into Pouon, and the Q1 track racing Porsche going through on the inside in the end. At times, the cars have been getting close between the classes. Pisani there ended up having a close moment with Fran Rueda, but just about survived. Having said that, he's now parked at the side of the racetrack. Eddie Cheever had the lead for a while before handing over to Marco Porcini, and he currently now leads the race behind the safety car. Second overall is Heiko Neumann in the Am Motor Park Mercedes. Third overall is Sandro Amura in the Pro-Am Lamborghini. 4th is Sam Dehaan, the first of the pro runners for Optimum Motorsport. Then comes Diego Mancheca, our race leader from the early stages of the race for Motor Park. Then comes Patrick Colbin, the Line Speed Porsche, 3 pro cars right together. Omar Jackson is 7th overall, that's 3rd in Pro-Am in the Ferrari 296. In 8th place, Simon Riker's Audi, so he had a very close moment there with the Olymp Mercedes further down, which has now got Martin Jedlinski at the wheel with Steve Jans between them. 2 Pro-Am cars there. Further down in Am, the second Am car is 16th overall. The 25 AF Corsa Ferrari of Alessandro Cosi, and then in 18th overall is Jean-Claude Sada in the 61 AF Corsa Ferrari. In Cup, we have the Cup Pro-Am leader, which is Axel Sartingen. That's a new entry for this weekend from Murtal Motorsport, showing that car with the Nürburgring legend that is Luca Ludwig. That is 30th overall. Then comes Laurent van der Velde in 31st overall, and that is the Cup Am leader. The 52 there being the Q1 track racing Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. Evgeny Leonov in the Volcano car, and the second Q1 track racing car, 57. That's second and third in Cup Pro-Am. Cup AM in 35th and 36th overall is Fernando Navarrete, I should say, for the Myrtle crew, and then the 67 GDR Racing car of Gianluca Di Lorenzi. That is the top 3 in Cup AM. And if I'm not mistaken, Chris, we still actually have all 51 runners still going, I believe. We can only see the top 50 on the timing screen, unfortunately, but there isn't actually anybody that's parked up, I think.
Well, we'll see what happens with this car that's, of course, had a problem. But yeah, otherwise, it's some have had to take quite lengthy pit stops, but otherwise, I hope we do see all 51 cross the line and take the checkered flag. Very mixed order, isn't it? Pulcini, as you said, leading the way here, will be frustrated that the safety car has come out, but that's part of endurance racing. You have to deal with that. They are the first car behind it, so that does make some places. Here we go, the 65 of Newman, 14 places gained, the 32, 10 places gained. Omar Jackson, 18 places gained along with his teammate. They've been doing a fantastic job in that 26 car. The 55 up 9. Di Lorenzi up 12 with his teammate as well. 2 drivers each team. So if we are saying just the 1 driver for now, don't forget we all have teammates here. So it's been a joint work, joint effort, and even Pulcini up 9 places. It's fantastic. Riker, the big loser, the pole sitter, down in 8th, but has a really good chance now to make some places. Don't forget, though, the order is going to be mixed, isn't it, Chris? We're going to have cars in between. So as you see 1, 2, and 3 on the track, that might not necessarily be 1, 2, 3 in the order. We might have some lapped cars in there. So that is what added to that huge flurry of cars battling. I think it was 8, 9 or 10 of them coming down Les Combes, because it's getting past the lap cars and then getting on with it.
Yes, so the
there we go. We've got a 52nd runner in the Spa Enduro now as well. I think might get lapped a few times, but good to see another vehicle.
Yes, so the second place car is the 4th car in this queue, the Motorpark black and red Mercedes, and then Sandro Moore is 2 cars further back from them in 3rd overall. Now then the pro runners will learn a stone behind him.
Now I believe driver change starts now as well. So driver change on starts in 9 minutes, apologies. So 10 minutes here, just under that, until we go for the 3rd and final pit stops, which carries those handicaps. Chris.
Yes, so we do have to start thinking about the handicaps as well, as the safety car lights are out, and we're going to go green in a few seconds' time. It will be Marco Pulcini who leads the field away, leaving it quite late indeed to put the foot down. But he has got, of course, the SPS Automotive Mercedes behind him. That is a lap down, and I wonder, actually, if Michael Pitamba might try and fancy a run at our race leader and try and get himself into some clean air. But we're back racing once again at Spa-Francorchamps with 50 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Pulcini leads, and immediately trying to come through the traffic there was Heiko Neumann, but keep an eye on Sandro Moore because he's got a flurry of pro cars directly behind him.
Yeah, we go on board in the 19. Whoa, that's coming in very, very hot there. The Volcano car's already had a spin today. Doesn't want another more, but there they come down through Eau Rouge, up Radion now. Blue flags going, but that could be going for quite a majority of the field. We've got a good amount of GT Cup cars out there, and they might find themselves now in the middle of a packed Pro and Pro-Am field.
Dehaan, Manchega and Kolb have already gone through on Sandro Moore there. So Sam Dehaan finds himself in 3rd place overall, and now just a second or so. Well, not even that. He's got the 2nd placed AM Team Motorpark car right in front of him. And then a couple of cars between him and the race leader, Marco Pulcini. But suddenly the pro runners are right back into this. That safety car's played perfectly for them.
Yeah, it really has. So Pulcini in the lead, but for how much longer? Newman in the AM lead. Even if he's passed, he still has that AM lead. Green background to the numbers. That's the AM class, and he's comfortably in the lead as they come down through Pouhon. 3, 4 wide, possibly in the background. We can see one of the Oregon cars. That's the 63. Is that that trying to make its way through. Maximilian Paul back in the car and trying to do his best to get through without making any more contact. Oh, spin, 2 off in the background. So 2 cars off, 3 wide. Someone on the grass, I think that's Jedlinski. That's 3 cars off. That could possibly be another safety car. So what on earth happened there, Chris?
It looks like one of them went through the gravel all the way up to the barrier and came back on track. Looking at those lines there, but poor old Sandra Mir here is being absolutely swallowed up by the pack, with the pro runners having already gone through. But to hand now into second place, he went through at Pouon. And hopefully we'll see a replay of what happened into Pouon there.
Safety car standby, safety car deployed.
Just as we were going green again. And yeah, the drivers have to back out of any moves they were doing there, just as the altitude McLaren did just there. So we're back on safety car conditions.
Who hasn't come through then? I think, let's have a look. I think we're about to find out. Here we go.
So 81. And it's Merso. Gets a whack from one of the AF Corsa Ferraris. There was a third car involved as well that was part of the initial contact, but the 81 there being the Luca Ludwig and Axel van Startingen car.
I think the 25 might be one of them as well. That hasn't come through sector 2.
Oh, and it was right in front of the 19 Oregon car that's had a dramatic enough race as it is.
Oh.
And, whoa, bang, taking the hood straight off the Ferrari 488 there. But still, I couldn't quite see which of the Ferraris it was, or indeed what the third car was in the incident there.
I think the Ferrari was the 25. Because that hasn't come through sector 2, so there's a...
Well, 25 being one of the leading AM contenders of Giorgio Senegiotto and Alessandro Cosi. So that's really not an ideal scenario for them. And now there is another one that maybe got going again, or is that Murat Jurada-Hoglu perhaps, because we haven't had a second sector time from them?
Possibly they're back on another lap now, so it's quite... You will see the ones that haven't come across the line very shortly, but yeah, I think the 25 was the Ferrari we saw got caught up, unfortunately. And we will see the cars that were caught up in that now tumbling down the order.
Well, just to give you a recap on the order now that the pro runners have got back, well, closer to the front of the field. Still Marco Pulcini that leads in the 27 AF Corsa Ferrari, but now Sam Dehaan in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren number 69 is right on the back of the race leader, with Patrick Kolb in the Lion Speed Porsche and Diego Mancheca in the Motorpark Mercedes right behind them, because they've dispatched of Heiko Neumann's AM car in the meantime.
We've got Patamba just coming up to the bus stop chicane now, so I don't know if that's a car that, or is that just...
I think there was a message that said it could overtake the safety car, so it's getting round to the back of the field.
A good spot, so that's just being taken back round there. We can see some recovery vehicles, and I think that's, unfortunately, the 25 that is going to be getting recovered. A couple more involved in that, but that was the one that made the impact, just because it simply had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, well, it was clearly having its own moment to have ended up in the runoff area in the first place. Yeah. And then, unfortunately, found a Mattel Motorsport Ferrari 488 Challenge right in its path. But there we go. There we can see the manufacturers as well. Crate Mix Ferrari leads McLaren, leads Porsche, leads Mercedes and Audi. Lamborghini's in 8th and 9th as well. Fantastic mix and a fantastic symphony of different engine noises that makes GT3 racing so enjoyable to watch. And of course, rumour has it we may well be doing without Audi next year. We hope that isn't the case, but we won't hold our breath. We do hope that certainly the drivers, like Christopher Haas, that works driving for over 10 years with that famous German brand, find a home elsewhere for next year. So we're going to do another lap under the safety car as the recovery for that incident down at Pouon continues. 44 minutes remain on the clock, and as you mentioned, Chris, we're rapidly approaching that third and final pit stop where the handicaps have to come into play. And of the GTOpen runners, the car that is most heavily impacted by that is the Heiko Neumann and Timo Rumpfkeil Motorpark Mercedes. That has 15 seconds of success penalty, essentially, to take in the third stop. 10 seconds for the sister motorpark car of Diego Mancheca and Marcos Seber. As well as the AF Corsa Ferrari, but that's the one we believe was caught up at Pouon. And indeed our race leader, Marco Porcini and Eddie Cheever, have to take 10 seconds as well, as does the 88 AF Corsa Ferrari in but that is actually because of Andrea Montemini's driver grade rather than a success penalty. And then it's 5 seconds for the Team GT Mercedes of Alain Valente and Florian Scholzer, and the Uber Motorsport car of Antara Zhao and Matteo Cairoli have to take 5 seconds as well because they are a new entry. And there's even more of them among the Cup cars as well. 35 seconds for the Volcano Motorsport.
That's going to be a long pit stop, isn't it?
Evgeny Leonov and Adam Christodoulou. And I think it's because we've got Christodoulou in the car that has contributed a little bit to that handicap. Safety car will be in this lap. So I'll just quickly round up the other success penalties, because Mertel Motorsport have got 20 seconds on the Ivan Velasco and Jorge Cabezas car as well. 10 seconds for GDL Racing and Kessel Racing's 68 and 169, and then 5 for the 166 GDL, the 73 Auras Racing Porsche. The other Mertel Motorsport car that we saw getting involved at Pouon there with Luca Ludwig and Axel Sartingen, and then the Enrico Fulgenzi car as well has to take 5 seconds in the third and final stop. Coming up towards Fagnes then, and we're going to go green soon, Chris.
Yes, we are, and it's looking like a 3, possibly 4-way fight, maybe even 5 here, the same 5 we saw at the start, 69, 99, 17, 23, 63. Looks like that could be our fight for the lead, but we've got the success penalties to come in, which are going to come into play. We've got the 27, which I think will be happy to see the safety car out. It's just running the time down. Likewise for the 65, the lead AM car, 5th overall.
And now, which one did I not mention there? The Line Speed Porsche that currently sits third has no success penalty, unlike the car ahead of it or indeed behind it. And who's going to be driving that car in the final stint? Porsche Works driver Richard Lietz. That is a formidable situation to be in for the Line Speed Porsche, but the safety car lights are out. Marco Porcini is backing the field up, and we're going racing once again, and hopefully this time we can stay green towards the end of the race, right as the safety car window, so the pit stop window, I should say, has opened. Maybe people are suddenly going to dive in now if they want to, and they are. Pretty much everyone is coming into the pits except for the Team Motorpark car and a few of the others behind it, but we're suddenly seeing a flurry of cars for the final 40 minutes to change drivers and get a fresh set of tyres and refuel on. So it will be Charlie Fagg taking the Optimum Motorsport car to the checkered flag, Richard Lietz taking the Line Speed Porsche to the flag.
Let's see, we got Eddie Cheever's going to take it to the flag for the next one. Here we go. We can see the changes going on. So these are, of course, one driver starts the race, the other finishes it. That's how the changes will work as they come now into pit lane. It's very busy down there. Handicaps to be served. Final pit stops of the race now. After this, it is straight to the flag for the field. But some have stayed out. We've seen a good few stay out, one of them being Newman in the 65, our lead AM car. And our leader
overall leader.
And our leader overall.
It's an AM car. What a race. Of course, what's worked out great for Cheever and Porcini is most of Porcini's time there was run under safety car. So the bronze drivers just run the clock out under safety car.
And then bring it back in.
Well, if we stay green, Cheever will be in an excellent position in the closing stages of this race.
It's one thing I was saying, the safety cars 2 in a row would not have been bad news to them at all. As
Steve Jans going through into the overall lead there into Pouon. That's the Pro-Am car getting ahead of the Am Motorpark car.
Yeah, so flies by into the lead, but there we can see Pro-Am past Am, but that's still the lead Am car, so they won't be too worried about that. They wouldn't have fought that one too hard at all. You can go by, you're in a different class, so all they want is the win in the Am class. An overall podium would be great, but I think they will be thinking long term here in terms of the next 40 minutes.
Yes, they will be taking 15 seconds of success penalty, and they're currently about 10 seconds ahead of the second-placed Am car of Adam Osaka's Get Speed Mercedes. So that one could come right down to the wire as well. But it is now Steve Jans in the 911 Get Speed Pro-Am Mercedes that leads the way, and presumably these guys are going to be running the clock on the pit window here.
Yeah, we've got, as you said, 10 minutes of this pit window remaining. Plenty of drivers coming in and back out again. I'd say it's the top 10 and maybe a few more a little bit further down the field.
Here they come.
Haven't really come in, and here they come. It's like an outlap, isn't it, for the start of a race? All of them flying out of the pit lane. Battles will resume.
So Eddie Cheever there has actually been able to hang on to, well, I guess we can consider the net race lead in 16th place overall, ahead of Marcos Seibert. So that is all for position now, as Dan Arrow is getting into the number 19 Oregon Lamborghini, Jamie Stanley into the 55A, of course, Ferrari as well. 37 minutes remain in this race.
Yeah, once they've all been in and out, we will know exactly where we stand in terms of who is leading the race. Richard Barr is going to take the number 20 car to the flag. 8 minutes and 40 seconds left, so still plenty of time for drivers to get out there, do a couple of laps before they come back in.
And here's what we were saying about Charlie Fagg and Ricard Leeds. So Leeds has jumped Charlie Fagg here in the pit stop because that car didn't have any success penalty, but there's still absolutely nose to tail for what is currently 11th and 12th, but could well be the podium, or even higher later in the race. Charlie Fagg looking towards the inside there of the bus stop chicane, but now Ricard Leeds is behind that wheel. That Porsche is going to absolutely fly. And, well, both of them really taking liberties with the track limits at the bus stop. And, of course, we've got Christopher Haase back at the wheel of the East Talent Racing Audi as well.
I think this could be our battle for the lead. I mean, Eddie Cheever has been really caught up with success penalties and has dropped down behind Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Leeds, Fagg, Kodrich, Haas, Chauvet, Cheever, Seibert, Baz. I think that might be our order when everyone has come in and back out. We've got to take Newman into play because he did well, Jans as well. So let's see what happens, but I know there's some big penalties coming in those classes. But this, everyone, could be your battle for the lead that we are watching when everything shakes itself out. We've got the number 84, which has been running really well. We've got to have a look at that one as well. It did get caught up in an incident at bus stop chicane. We'll see where that comes back out. Here's the 65 then.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris, because look at the pit stops there on the left-hand side. Ricard Leeds and Charlie Fagg are the top two who have done their third and final stop. They, of course, the Ferrari Eddie Cheever there did have 10 seconds to take in the final pit stop there. So that battle we were watching is now for the net lead.
Yeah, and Kodric is only 3.7 seconds behind. He's only 6/10 ahead of Haase, who was the quickest driver in qualifying yesterday. Then it's Chauvet, and then Chiba, the third, who is only 3/10 back from Chauvet. He's been going very well today. Seabear currently doing purple sectors next after that in the 17, hunting down Eddie Chiba. So we've got really great racing coming up in the final half an hour. We have only 4 minutes before the pit window closes, and the pit window closes in terms of all our pit stops in this race. Let's jump on board with Andrew Gilbert down towards P1. He's got a great view, but here we go back now to Pierre-Louis Chauvet as this making his way down to Blanchimont. It is in that number 63, just ahead of Eddie Chiba, the third. So those two fighting hard for what is currently 10th, but that's going to be for what I think will be P5 when everything shakes out.
Oh, a slightly wide moment there for the Motorpark Mercedes, which must be the Marcos Seabear car, is indeed getting rather close there to the CBRX by SBS Mercedes as well. And Eddie Chiba here still looking for a way past Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Both of them converters from the single-seater racing scene. And Eddie Chiba here has a run towards Eau Rouge. This would be incredibly bold, brave and beautiful if he can make a move there. What a stunning overtake from Eddie Chiba on Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who's now got the CBRX Mercedes all over the back of him as well as the Motorpark Mercedes.
Look at this, 4 cars squabbling for position. Headlights going there, but a great driving from, wow, surprised there by the 17 in the black and red, which dived down the inside and now losing 3 positions in 1 corner there. Really bad run, unfortunately, as we see that number 63 car, which did nip ahead of the 54, which I don't know if that's...
it's not for position.
Not for position, is it? That's a car running a lap or 2 down, but this would be for position. Cairoli there in the red, white and blue car just behind the headlights, furiously going on Matteo Cairoli, who was really impressive in qualifying yesterday. Let's jump on board with Andrew Gilbert then as they come through, Francorchamps, sorry, as they make their way down the hill.
Yes, Francorchamps yet to make his last stop, isn't he? So
yes,
he's still got to hand that car over to Andrew Gilbert for the last time.
Yes, the top 2, isn't it? So we've got the 786 and then this car here, the 84 Francorchamps, who's going to stay in for as long as possible. I think he'll have to come in this time, maybe. Look at this.
Fantastic. Can we combine this with the Cup Grid more often? Because I'm absolutely loving watching these cars do the dance. We see there the Volcano car having its own battle with the Ferrari 488 Challenge, while these GT3 cars are all trying to pile through at Blanchimont. Wide goes the 488 Challenge there, and some of the other GT3 cars having to make their way through on the inside. Pierre-Louis Chauvet getting through past the Volcano Porsche Cup car into the bus stop before he loses too much track on the ensuing battle between Seabear and Chiba ahead of him.
Look at this, like we've almost just started the race. Of course, a couple of safety cars have bunched things up, but I wouldn't expect anything else from GTOpen, as we've now just waiting for those top 2 to come into pit lane, and then we will see the likes of Leeds go into the overall leads. Fantastic stuff there. What a view this is. Spectacular camera work. Great stuff by the TV crew there to get that remarkable view of the cars coming up Radio. As that is a look down the inside for the number 63 of Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Isn't quite able to get through, just half a second back from Seabear. Let's go a little bit further up though and look at what is going to be our battle for the lead, Chris.
So this is now for the lead. The top 2 have just entered pit lane. So Kiki Saknana taking over the 786 Get Speed Mercedes and Andrew Gilbert taking over the Altitude Racing 84 McLaren. And this now will be for the race lead once they come over the line, separated by only 3.5 tenths of a second when they started this lap. It's Richard Lietz in the line speed Porsche, the 991 version of that car, against the Optimum Motorsport number 69 McLaren 720S GT3 Evo of Charlie Fagg. And remember, one of the points of the new Evo body kit was that it was supposed to be better in dirty air, like the air that Charlie Fagg is in now. A new bumper, a new splitter, it's more robust, and the whole balance of the car being moved over to the front so that it can closely follow. They don't produce much dirty air compared to, say, a Formula One car, but it does still exist like it does in any racing car that produces downforce. Very, very wide there was Richard Lietz on the exit of the bus stop chicane. But nothing that's going to allow Charlie Fagg to go through. Of course, right behind them as well, 2 seconds back, is Martin Kodrick in the Pro-Am Penalty Lamborghini. That is in third place now, and I think they will officially now take those positions as they come past the pits now. And of course, Kodrick will have Christopher Haase raining down on him pretty sharpish as well, because he's only 2.9 seconds behind. This is Cairoli getting up on the inside here of the Oregon Lamborghini into the bus stop chicane.
Great stuff there.
And that is for 8th position. And for Cairoli 4th in Pro-Am as well.
Yeah, gets past Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Good driving there. Very close to gaps. Only 1 or 2 seconds between each of it. Right, we can go through the top 10 officially now. Richard Lietz is leading. Driver changes have finished. If you come into the pits, then you've had a pretty big problem. Sadly, you don't want to be going into the pits anymore now. Don't want to pit when you don't need to. So Richard Lietz leads from Charlie Fagg. We could give you a gap, but as you can see, it's about 1 second between them. And hitting traffic there was Lietz in a really bad place on the exit of Pouhon. So the gap's going to come back down. Stay wide there, 52. Charlie Fagg would have been holding his breath momentarily. Martin Kodrick is next. We'll be able to see him in a few shortly as well. Here he comes now through the right-hander, the number 32 car of Martin Kodrick, leading Pro-Am, doing a fantastic job. This is the 69 of Charlie Fagg, who ran wide there through the left-hander, and don't think that would have affected him too much, but whatever he lost, he made back up with the help of some traffic. Kodrick next. He is 2.9 seconds ahead of Haase. 5 seconds ahead is Haase of Chiva, the third. And then gaps 1 or 2 seconds all the way down the top 10. Seabear, Blanc, Cairoli, Chauvet, Carol Baz rounds out the top 10. But for how long? Because he's only 3 tenths behind Chauvet.
Now car 33 is to have a 5-second time penalty, which is the second of the Benaldi cars, which I believe is quite far down. It's 21st overall, so certainly less than ideal, and that's because they haven't served their handicap properly. And oh, look at this, Sam de Haan's going to get caught up here behind the Cup Porsche and has to cut Eau Rouge to make the move stick in the end. Lost so much time to Charlie Fagg there because of that, and this is what's going to determine the race in the final 26 minutes, because in terms of pace, they're pretty much equal. And it's going to be how they get through the traffic and how consistent they can be. And you see that gap now has gone up to 1.2 seconds as a result of Charlie Fagg getting caught up there behind the Cup Porsche. Just give you a rundown slightly further down, because the AM runners, oh, hang on, we've got more penalties coming in. I'll give you that in a second.
Yeah, no, it's the Reese Bar car.
Yeah, well, that car's a lap down.
Down in 29th.
Yeah, anyway, so been a very difficult afternoon for that SBS performance Mercedes, but yeah, in the AM category, Konrad Grunwald now leads in the 61 AF Corsa Ferrari. That's 13th overall, with Kiki Saknana in second, 15th overall. Meanwhile, our long-time, not just AM class leader, but even occasional overall race leader of the 65 Motorpark car that had that 15 seconds deserving the final stop, is now 3rd in class and 21st overall. So there is the 3rd place car overall, the Benaldi number 32 Lamborghini, and he has got Christopher Haase raining down on him. Last time around was over a second quicker than the Pro-Am Lamborghini, so expect to see Haase closing down that gap in the remaining 25 minutes of this race. And here we see Charlie Fagg has been able to rein in that gap a little bit because it's come down 4/10 in the middle sector.
Yep, he's kept it within a second. He is right there behind Ricard Leeds, Martin Kodric 2.8 back, Christopher Haase next. Christopher Haase was 1.3 seconds quicker last time round. I'll give you what the lap times are this time around. If Haase can keep that up, then he'll be with him very shortly. But a good response that time from Kodric. He was 9/10 quicker. I think this is going to be partly due to traffic wherever you catch it. Sometimes you're going to have good laps, sometimes you're going to have bad laps with it. Our closest battle in the top 10 is for that 9th place with Pierre-Louis Chauvet in the Lamborghini just to the right-hand side of the picture. He'll come into frame now, and just behind him is Carol Baz. So we'll keep an eye on those two. They're fighting over 9th place, but a little bit further up the road, our battle for the lead. And through the first sector, Charlie Fagg, 10th quicker.
I mean, what would this mean for the Lion Speed crew to take home a win, not just in the GT Open, but for it to be the Spa Enduro as well? This team,
their first one,
this team, and together with Patrick Kolb, we've been together a long time, traditionally running Audis, actually, at the Nürburgring. Patrick, 5 years racing at the Nürburgring. Ricard Litz's teammate. The Pro-Am SB9 winner at the N24 a few years ago. He's won multiple class titles in the Nürburgring Endurance Series as well. And the team itself, Nürburgring specialist, switching from Audi to a factory-supported Porsche, which is where Ricard Lietz comes in. Of course, the star of Michael Fassbender's Road to Le Mans. And if you've seen what he's done with Michael Fassbender, then maybe they can do the same with Patrick Kolb as well. And of course, Ricard Lietz has won everything there is to win. A GT Open champion, of course, as well in 2007, but he's got the Grand Slam of endurance racing under his belts. Le Mans, Daytona, Spa, and Nürburgring. And I can't think of anyone better to resist the temptations of Charlie Fagg to make a mistake and let that McLaren through.
But it won't be going through Charlie Fagg's mind, will it? It will just be get past that car, forget who's in it. He's going to be going after that. I tell you what, Chris, well, I think we should keep an eye here on Eddie Cheever III. I know we've seen a lot of him because he's been leading at times, but last time around he was a second quicker than Martin Kodric. He's not that far behind, really, 5 seconds. If he can keep up pace like that, why are these two important? Well, they're 1st and 2nd in Pro-Am, 3rd and 5th overall. Now, we've got yellow flags, warning flags for car 11 going out for track limits. This is back to live pictures we can see. That is David Fumanelli down in 28th place. Last lap round, Charlie Fagg 3/10 quicker. Ricard Lietz, he's slowing up.
Ricard Lietz is slowing down. Is there a problem on that Lion Speed Porsche? Because Ricard Lietz is slowing down. Unbelievable drama in the final 25 minutes of this Spa endurance race. Ricard Lietz is slowing down. Is there a problem on that Lion Speed Porsche? Sam Dehaan and Charlie Fagg now lead this race. Kodric has gone through into 2nd place as well. Does it look like he's back up to speed now? Because Haas is closing in as well for the final spot on the podium, but what's going on here?
Well, some sort of mechanical issue inside that car. He's been, I've got to say, sensible driving from him there, really. A man of his experience, you wouldn't expect anything else, got out of the way, and that's got to be some sort of serious mechanical issue in that car to see Ricard Lietz slowing up like he is. Devastating drama, like you said. They got 2 hours into the race. They were in the lead. It looked set that they would at least, at worst, finish in P2, if not take the win, with Ricard Lietz. The experience he had, like you mentioned, but I don't know if this is a Ricard Lietz now crawling back to pit lane.
Now, oh dear,
66.
the 66 Greystone
Wow,
McLaren. Now is that going to bring out a safety car?
Yes, exactly what I was thinking. And if it is, that's very good news for Christopher Haase, for Martin Kodric, for Eddie Cheever, for the likes of Seabear as well.
Well, it'd be, yeah, great for Kodric because it would help him keep the pro cars at bay for a little bit longer. Just going to throw out...
This man here would catch right up. 5 seconds would be diminished. But for now, let's just follow what we're seeing, and that's some great racing into Blanchimont. There we go, look at that, almost 2-3 wide. Leeds, though, real shame for him, whatever problems he is suffering with. Are we going to be 3 wide into the chicane? Not quite. One of the Oregon cars there, trying to hold off 2 cars, of which have swapped places. Leeds is in pit lane.
Oh dear, a little touch there at the bus stop chicane. I have a theory about the Lion Speed Porsche, because it seemed like Patrick Kolb had an issue late on in I think the second race in Portimao, and it was because of damage to the steering arm. This is what happened to the Greystone McLaren. Wide was the AM Mercedes ahead of him. Stuart Proctor thought he would go through, and the Mercedes came back across again. But yes, the
green flags there, so no.
Oh, we're good. No safety car then.
Yep.
Yes, it seemed like Kolb had an issue late in Portimao, and it was because of a damaged steering arm, which seemed to be quite sensitive. Did it going over a sausage curb. And now we know that some of the curbs here are quite aggressive, because we saw Matteo Cairoli get airborne completely over one of them in qualifying yesterday. So has that car run into another issue with the steering arm? It's been bent or something going over a curb, and that's caused him to slow up. I'm purely speculating here, but that's what happened in Portimao, and it could well be it's happened again here in the final 20 minutes or so of this Spa Enduro. Heartbreak for the Lion Sport team, but absolute delight for Optimum Motorsport, Sam Dehan and Charlie Fagg.
Yeah, well, whatever the issue, it seems to have taken that car out of the race. Real shame for them. It tells me that they are on pit out now, so maybe if there is an issue, they might have resolved it to at least get out and finish this race. But what a shame. They have come back out of pit lane. They've crossed the first sector. It's dropped them down to 24th place. Wow.
Not what they were.
So whatever it was
a
relatively quick fix, wasn't it? So
could be a puncture, could be a slow puncture.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Again, just purely speculating, but of course that's put Optimum in a absolutely fantastic position here, and Martin Kodric could well still hang on to a podium, because Haas is not actually eating that much into Kodric's advantage now. The gap is still 2.5 seconds with just under 17 minutes remaining.
I tell you what, Seabear's the one to watch as well, because he is flying. 220.3 for him last time, 221 flat for both Fagg and Kodric. So
fastest of anyone.
He is on a move. He is only 1.3 seconds behind Shiva the third, and that's how much he was quicker than him last time around. So we should see Seabear, if he can repeat that lap. He's in the back of view. This is the 23 of Haase. We've got our top 5 in order. There is Shiva the third in the Ferrari. Behind that is Seabear, and he is closing in, so we will keep an eye on him. Yellow flag at turn 4 now. So we've had...
Oh, well, that's Radeon. That's not going to be a small incident, is it?
We've had someone else have some problems. Let's find out what happened.
Oh, my goodness me. It's the Oregon Lamborghini making contact with the 51F Corsa Ferrari. A huge moment. He caught some air. A full-on 720 at the top of Radeon. Make it even more than that. A full-on... oh, now, what... 2.5 spins, we'll call it. I was about to try and do the math in my head, which would have been a silly thing to do, but parks right up on the pit exit there at the top of Radeon. That must have been a terrifying moment for the number 19.
Briefly airborne, wasn't he? Just
he was about to fly through the air.
Elevation change. The main thing was that he didn't make any contact with the barrier, and the 19 has been able to get going again, because there are green flags in that section of the circuit now. Of course, a dangerous part of the circuit to get going again. You do need some assistance, I'm sure, and you just need to make sure that you rejoin in a safe manner, and the 19 did, but real shame for them. But going back to our battle within the top 5, Chiva the third continues to close in on Haase, Seeber likewise, and well, the track has been extended at the last corner for the rest of this race, I think. Track limit's going out the window there.
This is how the gap has ebbed and flowed over the last 3 races. Sandra Muir, or Martin Kodrick, I should say, was able to take half a second out over the last couple of laps, but Sam Dehan has started to respond, and his advantage remains 2.4 seconds or so, with 15 minutes remaining. Christopher Haase now only 1.5 seconds behind Kodrick for second place, and Eddie Chiva 1.2 seconds behind Haase, and Seeber only 1.1, well, now make it 1.0 seconds behind Chiva for fourth. And Matteo Cairoli in the Pro-Am Uber Porsche, third in class, about 11 seconds behind them. So in terms of overall position change at the front, this is where we're looking at the moment.
Yep, there is Chiva, 1.2 back from Haase. Let's see what he can do now. So last time round, yeah, 2:20.5, wasn't it? It was the quickest was Seeber there. So let's see what happens. What's happening in Am? Well, I think comfortably in the lead is Grunwald. Our Pro-Am and Pros are within that top 5. Back in the Cup class, it is Castillo who is leading in the number 57. Comfortably ahead of Prijbalak, who's the lead Am.
Yes, and that's 2 Q1 track racing Porsches leading both classes here.
Yeah, doing a really good job. And they are both comfortably in the lead. Unless they hit a problem like we just saw with Richard Leeds, then I think we should see them both across the line to take victories. But
or indeed with Dan Arrow at Radion.
That was just a reminder that anything can happen, and it's not over until it is over, and that will be going through the mind of Haase, of Chiva, of Seeber, because they are all on a mission here. Fag is 2.8 seconds ahead, but I think Kodrick is the one that needs to be worried.
Haase's close now. Flat to the floor in the middle of the bus stop and run as wide as you want. Yeah, he's closing in now, 3/4 of a second behind the second place car of Martin Kodrick, who's up 11 places from where he started. We just saw on the graphic. It's been an incredible race for the Benaldi crew, and indeed for the Lamborghini teams in general, showing a lot more pace than they did in Portimao. This has been a cracking effort from Benaldi in particular, and now it is up to Christopher Haase to get that East Talent Racing Audi that started on pole position, remember, back up into second place. Here is the Am race leader, the number 61 car, Conrad Grunewald, that he shares with Jean-Claude Sada. That is 12th place overall at the moment, and several seconds, in fact, ahead of the second place car in Am, which is now Timo Rumpfkarl. He's got ahead of Kiki Saknana, so that's a recovery drive there, but it's a good 20 seconds or so to the race lead. So, of course, the Ferrari got one hand on the trophy pretty much already. And of course, hoping to get a Pro-Am win as well. It's the cars first and third in that queue that we're watching. Eddie Chiva hoping to take it away from Benaldi and Martin Kodrick, but first of all, Haase's got to take the overall second place away from Kodrick as well.
Yeah, 2 things could happen here now, where Haase, if and when he catches Martin Kodrick, we could have Charlie Fag essentially secured in the win, because that gap will extend, but we could have a 2-car fight turn into a 4, because closely behind are Chiva and Seeber. So this could be a big moment in the race if we see Haase make a move on Kodrick, and Kodrick decides, you know what, I'm going to fight for this. Then those 2 things will happen. pretty much instantly.
Oh, now this is for second of the Cup runners, and a little hip and shoulder there as the Volcano car goes wide. But this is the 52 Cup Am car of Xander Prispilak racing the Cup Pro Am, Adam Christodoulou in 116. So this wouldn't matter for their classes, but amongst the Cup cars, it does. And here comes Christopher Haase looking up the inside for second place overall. I must say, I'm so impressed with Martin Kodrick, this 25-year-old who has had a Audi Works driver staring down the back of him for an awfully long time. When you look at Haase's credentials, you almost want to jump out of his way already. But no, he has been putting up a fantastic fight. But I don't know how much longer that's going to last in the remaining 10 minutes of this race, because here comes Christopher Haase for second place overall. Kodrick not feeling the need to go defensive yet into Les Combes. Here comes Haase now up on the inside, and this will be second place for the East Talent Racing Audi.
Yeah, I think sensible there. Kodrick didn't fight that one too hard, and I think that was sensible. This is that Christodoulou fight, is it? Christodoulou to the right-hand side of screen is going to just drive around the outside there of the number 52. This is that Christodoulou Prispilak battle, so they're going toe-to-toe. But Kodrick, I think, sensibly just allowing Haase to go through there because he knows his fight is for the win in the Pro-Am, and that could be on very shortly because we have got Chiva the third closing in as well. So that's going to be in the back of his mind. Here they come. So there is Haase now in second place. Kodrick next along. And behind that, almost nose to tail, is our two leaders in Pro-Am. Battle for the Pro-Am win about to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Linus Stern now and fighting for the last spot on the podium, unless Marcos Seibert in the Motorpark Mercedes can get involved in that as well. Just over 8 minutes plus 1 lap, remember, remain on the clock. You see Haase there did his personal best top speed of 269 kilometers an hour. Here's that move again from Adam Christodoulou. They were practically off the track on the exit of Pouhon, but Christodoulou right round the outside is still second amongst the Cup Pro-Am runners, but is now Linus Stern in the timing screen with the class leader. This is a replay of the move of Christopher Haase on the inside of Martin Kodrick for second overall, and Haase now making his way through on the lapped Kessel. Oh, now what has happened to Eddie Chiva? Because Seibert's gone through. He's in the pits. Eddie Chiva with a late problem here. Yellow's at turn 8 as well. That's Rivage corner. So, well, that has pretty much secured the Pro-Am win for Benaldi, unless there's any late dramas for that car. But now, who have we got stopped at turn 8? I'm sure we'll find out shortly, because the cars will be heading there
in that direction.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a real shame for Chiva. There it is, 57.
Oh, that is the leading Cup Pro-Am car, or it was, because now it's Adam Christodoulou. Unbelievable. In the final 7 minutes, they've lost the Cup lead. Incredible
2 leaders
stuff.
out.
Yeah, in the final 20 minutes. Unbelievable.
What is going on with Chiva the third as well in the pit lane? We'll find out very shortly, I guess, but real shame to see the leader in the Cup class round. I wonder what happened there. Is it gonna be some sort of mix-up with quicker cars coming through? We'll find out, I guess.
Hopefully we get a replay of anything that happened to the 57, and hopefully we'll find out what happened to the AF Corsa Ferrari as well. But the late drama in this race, and now Benaldi are clinging on. They've got the Pro-Am win. They've got one hand on that trophy already, but can they hang on to this overall podium now? It would be a truly incredible feat. But Marcos Seibert in what is effectively the championship leading Motorpark car is staring down the back of him and wants to take that overall podium away, because of course for them that's their points in the championship. It matters more for the pro cars because it's their overall points that that matter.
Now we're seeing that car 57 will remain at turn 8 until the end of the race, i.e. no safety car. I think that's what that means. Okay,
and no overtaking.
Here we go.
Either.
Battle for third going on. Seabed dives down the inside of Kodric, and that is a brilliant move from Seabed, but he is now going to be under pressure possibly when they make their way down the Kemmel Straight, so it's going to have to be wary of that. But again, Kodric doing the sensible thing, not fighting it too hard.
Still got a bit of lap traffic to contend with, as well as the Street Art Aston Martin that's in front of them, and you see he was already flashing the lights down the pit straight because he does not want to get held up behind that car and allow Kodric to go back through. But lap 51 and less than 5 minutes remaining, and we've got Pro cars 1, 2 and 3 once again. And Matteo Cairoli, of course, with the demise of Eddie Chiva, up to second place in Pro-Am, but still 15 seconds behind the class leader, which is that man in the red Lamborghini.
Brilliant stuff here from the number 17 of Marcus Seabed to get himself on the podium. It's been an up and down journey for the top 3 at times, isn't it, with the pit stops we had early behind the safety car, mixing up the order, and now they find themselves 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, of course, that car was leading for a lot of the first section of the race, wasn't it? After it went through on Simon Riker. Here's a replay of the move, breaking up the inside of the bus stop, and as you mentioned, Kodric, he knows it's not really his fight, but I'm sure Bernardi would have loved to have come away with an overall podium for this race.
But they'll be on there regardless, so for the Pro-Am class, so I don't think, it's something of course they would have liked, but the sensible thing, if they fought for that and had a crash, they wouldn't be able to forgive themselves, would they? I can see Ricard Lees is back in pit lane, by the way. I don't know when that happened exactly, but sadly, I don't think that car is going to cross the line. We'll see. It's back in pit lane, but that's a real shame. It did attempt to come back out, but clearly the problem's too severe to continue. So real shame. Look at some of the big movers. Got to give it to Axel Jeffries, who was practically last on the first lap, and he has climbed up to 15th place. Grunwald up 10, Stanley and his teammate up 12. Look at that, Pavlovich up 37 places, which is quite incredible. That's got to be one of the drives of the race, not just from Pavlovich, but from his teammate. 33 has done a sensational job.
Now, those cars that were under investigation for entering the pit lane under the safety car very early in the race, they're now going to be investigated after the race. So we're not going to have any answers just yet on to what is going to happen with those cars. It's hard to remember who they were at this point, but or to even remember that far back at all. But yeah, could be some post-race changes. I'm sure that won't matter all that much to the lead cars.
It'll be a provisional result, but for the top 3, of course, from my memory, they all came in after
the pro cars
after that time. So the top 3 should, unless there's any other instance, be the top 3, but it'll be a provisional result, as always is in racing, until all investigations are done post-race. Right, here we go. We're side by side, a little bit further back for position. Is this Agostini getting past Chauvet? I think it is. Agostini to the right-hand side of screen. Definitely brake very late into there, but he goes past Chauvet, and Baz must be sick of staring at the back of Chauvet, because he's been in that position for a long time in the yellow and black Mercedes there. He will really want to get past before the end of the race.
Yeah, he just made his move actually on Axel Jeffries for 9th place, and that is also 4th in Pro-Am as the race leader comes through Curve Frere.
That would have been a nervous moment.
Yes.
There as Fag went into Stavolo. The Cup car was about to turn in, and then just turned out of the corner, and Fag, I'm sure, would have thanked him, even though he wouldn't be able to hear him, because, yeah, I'm sure briefly that was a nervous moment.
Number 30, Matteo Cairoli, second in Pro-Am, incorrectly serving the handicap, but he is 13 seconds ahead of Axel Blom, which is the next car, so that won't have any impact on his his result, unless we get a safety car in the final 2 laps here. So the timer will run down on this lap, and then I think we have one more lap.
One more additional lap, yeah.
After that. So for Charlie Fagg, only 2 laps remain of the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And, wow, these guys have been here for a good 2 weeks testing, haven't they? A lot of different teams between the private testing they were doing last week, the 24-hour test that they were doing at the beginning of the week, plus the additional private testing before this race weekend as well. It must be, well, if you can get sick of Spa, that'll make you do it. But 2 more laps to enjoy for Charlie Fagg there.
Race definitely isn't over, though. Look, that's an example of why, because traffic will come into play. Haase needs to just keep pushing as hard as possible, as does this man here, because look, things like this can happen. Charlie Fagg getting caught up through Les Combes there, and that is going to possibly half the lead that he once had, and is going to ignite Christopher Haase to keep pushing on as much as possible. And conveniently, Haase goes through that back marker with absolutely 0 time lost, and that is why this race still isn't over. We may have a gap of over 2 seconds, but it is not over yet.
It's not 2 seconds anymore. I'd say it's practically half that gap that moment there with GTL Racing Porsche. So, well, has Christopher Haase got any life left in him? Of course he does. Of course. He could well still find himself at the front of this race once again. That was the car that was on pole position, remember, and it was Fagg and De Haan starting alongside him on the front row. If you look at this on paper, it's not going to seem like it was that really an interesting race, but that does not tell half the story in any way whatsoever. It's been a cracking race, filled with drama, filled with great action as well, and there could yet be one last twist in the tail. The gap came down by more than 0.6 of a second just in that middle sector alone because of that moment for Charlie Fagg getting caught up there behind the Cup Porsche, and he's about to start what I believe will be his final lap.
Yep, into the chicane for the penultimate time. Haase can see Fagg ahead. He will do everything he can on this final lap to try and close that gap as they come down the start-finish straight, and Charlie Fagg just getting ready to tell the guys ahead, get out the way. It's 1.1 seconds now. Still coming down. Christopher Haase is not done with this race yet. He wants that race win. He wants to win the Spa Endurance. He can see it ahead of him. Charlie Fagg will be looking in the mirrors. This could lead to mistakes on the final lap as the nerves really start to build. But for Christopher Haase, he's got absolutely nothing to lose, and he is going to be pushing like mad.
There's pretty clear track ahead of them. Apart from this number 19 Lamborghini, there's pretty clear track ahead of them, so the traffic should be minimal on this final lap. But for Optimum Motorsport, having an Audi Works driver bearing down on you is certainly less than optimum.
No, not at all, is it?
I'll leave now.
It's been 2 hours and it's been 2 hours and 20 minutes.
It was 2 hours and too long, Chris, to be stuck in here with me. So just
George, you can come back.
So just about half a lap remains then, and only a second after 2 hours and 20 minutes of racing. Only a second.
Wow, that is still coming down,
the top
isn't
two,
it?
and it's definitely still coming down. Christopher Haase is going to take this right down to the wire, I think. But for Optimum Motorsport, they're staring at the back of their first victory of the season, as indeed are the East Talent Racing. East Talent Racing, who are their first season racing in Europe as well, whereas Optimum have got masses of programs raging across Europe and America as well, but the pressure is certainly on for Charlie Fagg in the remaining sector of this race. Is Christopher Haase in slipstreaming territory here?
There's a back marker there.
And the back marker as well. They safely navigate it, but it was very close for Haase there. Could there be one last twist in the tail here in the Spa Enduro? Haase is right on the back of Charlie Fagg here. This is going to come down to the final braking zone of an endurance race. This is why we love GT racing. It's right down to the wire. What's Christopher Haase going to do with this? Surely Charlie Fagg is going to keep it tight to the inside. Haase can't do it. He can't get up the inside. He's all over the curve though, desperately trying to find a way through, and he's pushed off the circuit. They're going to be side by side across the line here, but it's Optimum Motorsport that takes the victory. Charlie Fagg and Sam De Haan one are the winners of the Spa Enduro.
67 thousandths of a second was the gap when they crossed the line. Charlie Fagg and Christopher Haase were side by side all the way up, and I think Optimum were just pausing to celebrate. Say, did we win?
Did we win? No, they know it. Oh, that's the motor park crew are happy with their podium as well, and indeed in the AM class as well. But what a finish! What an astonishing finish!
Seabear finished third. Yeah, Kodrich overall winner in Pro-Am. But we still got some winners to come across the line, Chris.
Yes, yeah, so we're yet to see the AM winner, Conrad Grunwald, in 11th place overall. This, of course, we're looking now is the Cup leader, Cup Pro-Am, the 116 of Adam Christodoulou and Evgeny Leonov. That'll be Leonov's first victory as well, having come tantalizingly close in Portimao. He'll now have it with the help of Christopher Haase as well. And the Cup Am will be the next car behind him, actually, which is Xander Przybyłak in 30th overall. Still not done yet for Adam Christodoulou, though, as the El Baron Rampante Lamborghini has to go through as well. Confirmation as well that Cairoli's penalty hasn't affected his position of 5th overall and 2nd in Pro-Am. But here comes Adam Christodoulou into the final couple of corners now at the bus stop chicane. And he takes the GT Cup Open victory for Volcano Motorsport in the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, the 992. And this is 52 and 80 for 2nd and 3rd of the GT Cup runners, coming right down to the wire. It's the AM car versus the Pro-Am car. Przybyłak here just about going to hang on to 2nd of the Cup runners. A fantastic job there for Q1 Track Racing. I mean, absolute despair for the sister car that was leading and retired in the final 10 minutes of the race, but some consolation there with 2nd of the Cup runners and leaders in AM, with Ivan Velasco in the number 80 Mertel Motorsport car getting 3rd of the Cup runners there. But what a race for this team here. Let's take another look at it, Chris. Haase just put his foot flat to the floor in the middle of the bus stop and utilised that runoff, but absolutely nothing. So look at him all over the curb at the bus stop. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, just trying to open up the line as much as possible, and you said, you know what, I'm just going to send it all the way to the outside and a bit more to try and do everything I can across the line. I'll deal with it after if possible.
Oh, they knew it.
Yes, yeah, they knew it. Straight across the line. Look at that. Then it was the nervous faces. Yeah, we got it, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see the photos of that.
Fantastic.
Definitely keep an eye on.
I'll tell you what, for a while, you did not know if it was going to be that close, but there we go. Spa Enduro, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that was the gap, 67 thousandths. It
was indeed. Dahan and Fagg take the victory ahead of Simon Riker and Christopher Haase. Team Motor Park, another podium for them for Diego Mancheca and Simon Seibert. Martin Kodrich and Sandra Moore taking the Pro-Am win for Benaldi Motorsport, with Antares Auer, Matteo Cairoli 2nd of the Pro-Am runners on the 992 Porsche's debut in the championship for Uber Motorsports. Then it was Niccolo Marinangeli and Riccardo Agostini in 51. That was 4th of the Pro runners and 6th overall. This is what it's done to the championship. Charlie Fagg and Sam Dahan take the lead from Marco Seibert and Diego Mancheca by 5 points. Haase and Riker are now 3rd, another 3 points behind them. Just run you down, it was definitely Conrad Grunewald and Jean-Claude Sarda who took the AM class win as well in 10th place overall. 2nd was Timo Rumpgeil and Heiko Neumann in the 65 Motor Park car. And then 3rd in AM was Philip Baron and Kurt Meyer in the 91 Team Baron Motorsport Ferrari as well. And I'm sure these guys are going to be celebrating pretty hard tonight.
I mean, it was a hard-fought race in the end, wasn't it? You got to give a lot of credit to Christopher Haase and the 23 crew. They just kept the pressure on, and then when that back marker came, they pounced, and Charlie Fagg, nothing really he could do. He was nursing what looked like very worn tyres, I think, because he just did not have the speed that Haase did. Haase was doing everything he could. Gap came down and down, 0.6 of a second. They caught that back marker. Haase, I thought, was going to run straight into the back of him, just avoided it, and then came the run down to the chicane. But Charlie Fagg, lots of credit has to go to that man there to the left of screen, because he kept his cool, did not lock up the brakes, did not run wide, got a good run on the exit, and even though Haase had mounted the curb through the right to open up the left, where he almost went straight out of the corner, got a fantastic run. But Charlie Fagg, very cool under pressure, and that says a lot about his skills as a racing driver, and I think a very deserved victory in the end.
Top three overall then, it was Team Motorpark of Diego Mancheca and Marcos Seibert in third place overall. Another podium for them, puts them second in the championship. Second place, Simon Riker and Christopher Haase in the East Talent Racing Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. But now the winners and the new championship leaders, Sam de Haan and Charlie Fagg in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720S.
And we are with the winners of the endurance race, Sam de Haan and Charlie Fagg. Well done, guys. Sam, it's not the first time you win in the GTOpen, but what's the feeling today?
A really good feeling. I think Charlie and I both set out exactly what we wanted to do this morning. We knew exactly, you know, we picked a good strategy. The team did a great job, and I got to say the car was perfect today. Really nice to drive.
And Charlie, the finish was hot.
Totally under control, yeah, thank you. No, it was really, really tough. I struggled with the tyres at the end, but I mean, credit to Sam, he's been brilliant all weekend. I think we would have loved a pole as well. That would have been a nice tick the box, but ultimately, we stand on the top step. That was the mission, so we can have a nice drive home tonight.
And it's, of course, very good for the championship.
Yeah, yeah. You know, in this championship, I think you just got to score points at every round. We can't afford to have any DNFs, so we keep on this run. That's exactly what we hope to do, finish on the top.
Well done, guys.
Thank you very
Podium,
much.
I guess, now.
Cheers, thanks a lot.
Guys. Well, I don't know how we're going to condense this into a few seconds, but we'll give it a go. Simon Riker led the field away at the start of the race, and it was Diego Mancheca who was charging through on the inside of Sam de Haan, but it was Pietro Perolini that had the disaster at the start in the Oregon Lamborghini, getting spun round, while Giuseppe Cipriani made it through the gravel. The Motorpark car came through up on the inside to take the lead in the early stages and absolutely checked out. Unfortunately for Mikel Patamba, the SBS Automotive's Mercedes day was rather undone by this contact with Maximilian Paul. He was given a 5-second penalty for that. Battles raged on, and Benaldi, showing an absolute turn of form here after a very difficult Portimao, ended up fighting for the overall podium. The GT Cup cars provided plenty of action as well. This was the Q1 Track Racing Porsche getting past one of the SP cars, while the other SP car was getting very rather close to Fran Merida's McLaren. Eddie Cheever and Marco Polcini were long-time race leaders of this event, but rather because of strategies on the safety car. Perfect spinning here from two Porsche Cup cars after contact into the final corner. The Volcano car ended up coming away with the win regardless. Contact further down amongst the Cup cars and some of the GT3 cars, but this was the battle for the podium in the closing stages, and the battle for what ended up being the Cup lead, with the Cup leader shortly after this retiring from the race. They went down to the absolute wire, with Christopher Haase clambering over every curve and using every runoff area to find a way past Charlie Fagg, but he could not do it, to the deficit of 67 thousandths of a second. That gave Optimum Motorsport a very dramatic victory. And now the podium will commence, and we've got quite a few of them to go through before the Euroformula cars take to the track for their third and final race of the weekend. But I think this is going to mean so much to not just the Optimum team, but to Sam Dehan in particular. He was an incredible talent in the British GT scene amongst the Pro-Am contenders. Vice champion, came close but no cigar on 2 occasions for the 27-year-old. He is, of course, a GTOpen race winner in the past, having won at the Red Bull Ring a couple of years ago, but in terms of wildcard entries, really been pushing into the international scene over the last couple of years, coming up with a European Le Mans series last year as well.
Congratulations to Charlie Fag, Samuel Dehan, and the Optimum Motorsport for this victory.
So that is Charlie Fag, Sam Dehan, Chris Vassar, Simon Riker, Diego Mancheco, and Marcos Seibert on the overall podium. Of course, the podium celebrations will continue for the Pro-Am, Cup Pro-Am and Cup Am contenders. It'll be probably a rather lengthy ceremony for these guys, while the Euro Formula cars will probably get underway at that point. And it has been a very dramatic day for the GTOpen and the GT Cup cars. And the championship, of course, continues with round 3 coming on the 17th and 18th of June from the Hungaroring in Budapest. Back to the normal running of form with the 2 races of 70 minutes and 60 minutes after that. But a very different face on the championship now after this double points endurance race. Chris, my thanks to you for joining me in the commentary box for this one. It has been an absolute pleasure, sir. We will see you in Budapest in a few weeks' time.
Voilà pour ce podium du classement général en international GTOpen. C'est le temps de l'évacuer, puis on prendra place, on passera plutôt au classement et au podium de la catégorie Pro-Am d'ici quelques instants. Here we go for the Pro-Am podium now with the third position for the Get Speed, Steve Jans and Axel Blom. Third place for Steve Jans and Axel Blom in Pro-Am. Second position for Uber Motorsport, Matteo Cairoli and Antares Aou. And the winners for Bonaldi Motorsport, Sandro Moore and Martin Kodrich. Sandro Moore, Martin Kodrich, les vainqueurs de cette catégorie Pro-Am. La présentation des trophées, maintenant on va retrouver Tony Devo, tailleur designer Michelin, pour le trophée de la 3e place pour Steve Jans et Axel Blom, les pilotes de la formation Get Speed, trophée de la 2e